What up, people? We're back now. You know what it is, man. The Sunday podcast at noon-ish. It's not always on time. We got two Hispanics on the podcast, so don't ever expect us to be on time. Even if we are prior military, doesn't matter. But yeah, man, obviously today we're going to be talking about the Conor McGregor fight. We'll be talking about a plethora. It's the word of the podcast. Plethora of different topics. Some topics we'll get to, some topics we won't. But first of all, let's welcome my co-host, Jonathan, a.k.a. Sweater Vest. What's going on, brother?
How's it going, man?
Good, man. How you been, my brother? How you been? How was your week?
Man, week has been it was short. You know, I was in class for about 3 days at work, so didn't really get to do much work, which was good. To make the work week go pretty fast. And for whatever reason, we didn't get into it, but last night we went to Books A Million. And for the first time in my life, I bought the set for D&D, Dungeons and Dragons. Okay. Never played it. I have friends in high school that played it, got into it. And my kids we have a ton of board games at the house. And my son just came out of the blue. He goes, "Hey, you ever played D&D before?" I'm like, "Not really. Have you?" He goes, "No, but let's grab it." I was like, "Okay." So we grabbed the board. We get home. There's like two booklets. One is 64 pages. The other one's 32. I don't know why they made it exactly like double of the other, whatever. And I said, we got to read 32 pages of like tiny, small print just to learn how to play this. I said, all right, we'll read that tomorrow. Tomorrow just means not today. It doesn't really mean tomorrow, you know. Just like Hispanics are always late. Tomorrow just could mean whatever. Tomorrow is just the day sometime after today. That's not sometime in the future.
Yeah. At some point.
Yeah, at some point.
That's what that means.
Yeah, but it's been. I mean, it's been good. Besides the snow out there, it's been snowing kind of heavy over the last couple of days. I'm just getting ready for these games today.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
So funny. I was talking about it with my barber, right? Because he's from Tennessee. I went to a new barber this week. We'll get into that in a minute. And like I go to him and I was like, he's got all this Tennessee stuff. I was like, because you always wonder with barbers or people you just like first meet, like, is he just like on the bandwagon? Like the dude's like legit from Tennessee,
right?
And the games are like 305, and the other ones are like 712 or something. Like the AFC the championship games are always at a weird time.
Yeah.
So looking forward to that. I'm not gonna make a pick because I don't have any skin in the game. I could care less. I just want a good game.
Mm-hmm.
But dude, if Ryan Tannehill goes to the Super Bowl in Miami, that would be insane. That would be absolutely crazy. But it would be he has two playoff games where he's thrown under 100 yards.
Yeah.
Like 72 and 88 yards. So he's the ultimate game manager. But when you got the best running back in the last 10 years, right? Like this is Derrick Henry isn't.
He put up 182 and 195, like two 200-yard games essentially. Like you don't need to do much except not turn the ball over. And really, like before the playoff games, Tannehill was putting in work. I mean, he had Henry, which helps. Yeah. And look, I've stopped being a fan of a particular football team a long time ago. I used to be a diehard Dolphins fan, and then it went from being a diehard fan to being like, I hope they win, but I'm not really investing any time or emotions or feelings or anything into it. But when they got Tannehill, I thought, this is the dude. If management doesn't screw up like they usually do, and they put a good offensive line and give him some decent weapons, he'll be fine. He is the dude, and they just could never get it figured out because it's always management, right? Just like in Cleveland, they can never get the right coaching, who gets the right staff, who then they go through players like it's nothing, and you can't really succeed in that kind of environment when you got to learn a new scheme or a new offense or whatever it is. And Tannehill went to the spot. I mean, Vrabel, I don't know if what's his name. Who's the quarterback for the backup for the Titans? Mariota.
Mariota.
I don't know if that was even his guy, right? Because that coach just came in there recently, so I don't know if he even wanted him starting or not. But Tannehill was doing his thing. He beat him out for the job. So I mean,
because I think he beat him out I think he beat him out like week 7 or week 8. And they just then at some like it's weird because like Derrick Henry's been there 2 or 3 years now.
Yeah.
And the year he had this year is totally different, right? I'm hoping it's his contract year and he gets paid. You know me, man. I'm all about NFL players getting paid. Yeah, NFL players getting paid the most money they possibly can because especially running backs have a very short life.
Yeah, and it's not guaranteed.
Right? Like Yeah, Derrick Henry reminds me a lot of Eddie George. Remember?
Yeah.
I mean, like they run similar, same kind of size, and same team. And I was thinking about that after I left. I was like, damn, dude, he's just like Eddie George. So he's impressive. I mean, they have to do ball control just like they've done, right? But the scary thing, I guess we'll go into a little bit of the analysis of this game because we're just NFL. We just watch games. We don't have a vested interest, right?
Right.
Even if they ball control, the thing is that defense has to stand up every second of every play for Tennessee because Kansas City isn't the Ravens and they're not the Patriots. Like they got weapons everywhere, right? Like they could score. They scored in that last game against Houston. They scored like 3 touchdowns in 3 minutes.
Yeah. Well, they have the one
This
guy
is
who
a
can
quick
do whatever
strike
he wants.
Yeah, like they could have the ball for 14 minutes, but they could put up 42 points. Right? Like Derrick Henry can go crazy. They have the ball control, shorten the game as much as possible.
They have to keep that offense off the field.
Yeah, and that defense they have to have a perfect scheme for Patrick Mahomes because he's not a scrambler. Like he's not a runner, he's a scrambler. He'll get you those 10, 15 yards when he needs it, but he's always looking on the field. And it's playground football, right? It's thrown across your body. Dude, he's insane. It's what it is. It's how we used to play. Obviously, not to this level, and we're not trying to compare either one of us to Patrick Mahomes. But it's just let's throw the ball around and see what happens. But at his level, he's the best I've ever seen. To have that level of not giving a fuck. Like, yo, I'm gonna just make every throw. Doesn't matter. Like, I'm gonna throw back across my body to the opposite side of the field on an out route.
Sidearm, whatever, all sorts of crazy angles. And I mean, he's never. You can't have you can't really have a spy on him because he thinks, or you might think that he's running the ball, but at the last minute, he'll go right up to that line of scrimmage and release the ball because he's always looking downfield. And it doesn't hurt to have Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce out there as weapons. Not only that, you got Sammy Watkins, who was a high pick a few years ago. Yeah. And then now that he's got other talent around him, maybe he didn't turn out to be what people thought he was going to be, but I mean, he's a baller. Some people don't translate exactly from what they were in college to what people expect him to be in the NFL, but he's no slouch. Like Sammy Watkins is a beast, and so you got Tyreek Hill, you got Kelce. I don't know how you stop that offense. Even if Tennessee has ball control and they keep him off the field, all it takes is one strike. You're on the field for 30 seconds, and they put up 6 on you. Like, dude, you got to think about
obviously we don't know coaching, we don't know shit about it, but just as a fan, the fan-sided opinion of it, right? Is if let's say you have a 14-play drive, Derrick Henry carried the ball 10 times, you get a field goal. Patrick Mahomes, 3rd and 19 because you sacked him, throws the ball 80 yards, 7-3. You know what I mean? That you busted your ass to get this field goal, but in one play they gave you a touchdown. You have another long drive, take 8-9 minutes off the clock. They have the ball for 45 seconds. To play defense against this team isn't like the Patriots because you have to have you can't slip up on any because he'll extend the play, and then that's when Tyreek Hill busts out a little bit further, or was it Damian Williams? I think they're like speedster running back can bust out for a screen. You have the guy that played for who's the running back that played for Philly for a lot of years, bro, and he played for Buffalo too.
Fuck. Oh, they got Shady McCoy. LaShawn McCoy, really?
Yeah, they have Shady McCoy. You can check it on me, but I'm pretty so they have Shady McCoy, so they could run the ball too. Their screen game is crazy. I don't know how they lose. Like I saw how they could beat Patriots and Baltimore, right? Because you have Baltimore, who's more of a running quarterback, a running player that plays quarterback. But Patrick Mahomes is totally different. This is one of the best quarterbacks, if not the best quarterback in the league. Right?
Yeah, I think him and Russell Wilson are the best quarterbacks, and Russell Wilson almost brought him back single-handedly because Seattle really doesn't have anyone, and they just got too far behind the Packers. I thought Seattle was maybe going to be able to pull it off.
Yeah, I thought they were going to be able to come back.
If he had just 1 or 2 more weapons, man, he's been doing it all. Wilson has been the best quarterback, I think, the last couple of years.
Yes, the most consistent with the least amount of weapons.
Yeah,
because he has wide receivers that are like our height. You know what I mean? Like I'm like 6'2" isn't that tall for a wide receiver.
Maybe not my height.
No. Well, they have that guy DK Metcalf from Ole Miss. That's a monster.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? The freak of nature that should be like a tight end. But I think put all that shit aside. I think the difference is going to be Travis Kelce. I don't know how you line up with that guy.
Yeah,
I think he's the best tight end in the game. Like if Tennessee does it, bro, all props to them. Again, no skin in the game, but I just we'll see, man. I'm excited to see it. I'll be tuning in and out, probably watching that and rewatching The Mandalorian because my wife hadn't seen it and I had to like start watching it all over again. So
I'm gonna have to watch all the Star Wars movies first. I haven't seen a Star Wars movie since I think the original 3, and even then it's been so long that I don't even remember the storyline. Like I haven't seen any of the new ones.
We weren't even gonna talk about this, but like I'm not like a freak of nature with like Star Wars shit either. Like I just watch the movies to watch the movies.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. I'm not like, oh, this character means this. Sorry, I probably lost all the Star Wars fans that we have, but don't give a fuck. Like I don't care. Like like everybody's like, oh man, Luke and Layla were twins. And they kissed. I don't care. They're not actually related. You know what I mean? Like I don't care. It's an act. I just watch it for the graphics. Like we're watching Mandalorian, and it's a 30-minute show, right? Basically, 30 to 35 minutes. It was way too much money, dude. The graphics on that are crazy. Like I just like watching it because of the skill and the technology that people put into it, and it's a really good show. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Hey,
but Mandalorian, you don't have to watch the other ones to know what's going on here.
Okay.
Like, this is almost like completely unrelated. It's just watch it, bro. It's a good show.
Okay.
You don't have to know like they'll talk about the Empire and shit like that, but it's not like you don't have to know what happened there. It's just like about a bounty hunter, which is the Mandalorian, and then you just get to know more about that character.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like so it's not you don't have to watch the other shit. No, fuck that. No.
Hey,
you don't have to do that.
All right. Hey, you were talking about Lamar Jackson earlier because I was thinking about this. What do you think about that? About Jackson and his last performance? Is he one of these quarterbacks that people talk about that they say he's great in the regular season, but terrible in the offseason, or he can't get the team over the hump in the offseason because he's 0-2 now, right? It's the second year they made it to the playoffs. He's 0-2. Yeah. I saw that game, right? And I get on when I watch the games, I'll get on Twitter just to see, what they're talking about during the game. And people that's what I saw all across just Twitter land. Just he's not a playoff quarterback. He's not gonna get your team to the next level. We figured out a strategy on how to what strategy. Please tell me what strategy you figured out how to stop Jackson, because he put up over 300 yards passing, 100 plus rushing. Like, what's the strategy? Hope and pray that he's got a terrible game and he has 3 turnovers. Is that the strategy you're going for? Because other than that,
exactly the strategy.
He had a bad game. He had a bad game, and he still. I mean, he kept them in the game. I mean, I get it that he is the reason that they lost, But even then, it was because of him that they had a chance of getting back, and he just had his one bad game. It was having to be the playoff game.
I think so.
And one of those turnovers, one of those picks wasn't on him. Like the fumble, he should have protected the ball. Like he had it just hanging out there. One of the picks was a drop pass, and I think he had like 7 or 8 drop passes during the game, which doesn't help him. And one of them was a pick that went off his receiver's hands.
So what that does, right? Those drop balls and those turnovers, it takes you out of your rhythm, right? Because you're a little bit more happy. And I'm saying that, and he still had he's a little bit more apprehensive and stuff like that, but he still balled out. Like he still had almost 500 yards of offense just himself, right? Like let's get the fact that he didn't show up and all that shit. That doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah.
Right? Like he had the turnovers, but I didn't. So I'll tell you, I didn't watch the game. I watched the highlights. But I'm getting texts. I'm in like a couple different group chats, and my boys are telling me like, oh man, fucking Lamar Jackson's playing like trash, and I'm thinking he has like 30 yards passing. Right. You know what I mean? Like just having a pick, can't throw the ball. He's just being all Tim Tebow. You know what I mean? Like he's 1 of 25. And being completely so, I was like, and I watched the stats. I was like, dude, this guy just had some bad turnovers, and his receivers didn't show up. Like that happens. I think when you're the top seed and you have all the pressure, right? Like I think you tighten up a little bit. When you're the underdog, you can play looser and free, like because you're expected to lose, right? But when you have a trump card, no pun intended, you know what I mean? And Derrick Henry, I think that running back can control the game more, because when the whole offense is predicated on you, but you also have to depend on other players to show up, right? Like the quarterback. Like for the running back, you need your O-line. You don't care about what the receivers do. You just need them to block a little bit. But when you're the quarterback, you have the ball every play. and when you're also the leading rusher on your team, that you know what I mean, that puts more pressure on you and puts more of the onus. So I don't think he's a fluke. I just think he probably needs more weapons. Again, the guy's still young, bro. Like he's gonna be the NFL MVP. Like to like people are saying, like I know Brendan Schaub was like, oh man, they should do and then people always say like when that MVP has like a bad performance that they should wait till after the postseason. I think that's crazy, right? Like because for 16 games, every team had the same amount of time to prepare for him, right? Like Tennessee had 1 week to prepare for him. They didn't scheme some crazy thing. He had 500 yards of offense. That's not a scheme. Like that is just if he doesn't have those 3 turnovers, it's a totally different game, right? But he did. So you just kind of hope and pray. You have a hope and pray defense because you've never seen anything like him. He's bigger than Michael Vick, right? And Michael Vick, and everybody's like, oh, it's going to be Michael Vick still lasted 10, 12 years in the league. You get Lamar Jackson, who's going to get better at throwing the ball. I didn't think he would be this, right? Like I didn't think he'd be anywhere this. I thought he'd be a backup quarterback and they'd have him in like for little gimmick plays. I didn't think he'd be a starter. You know what I mean? Coming out of the league. I didn't think that was coming out of college ball. I thought he was just a running quarterback because, you know, in college, you could just get away with being the best athlete. You know what I mean? Because you don't play the best teams. You muted your mic, yo. You muted your mic again.
That tells you a lot about the about the coach, right? Because who did Harbaugh have before him? Flacco. 2 completely different types of quarterback. And the fact that they're able to adjust and change their scheme around to fit the quarterback, because at the end of the day, that's who leads your team. If you don't have a quarterback, if you have a game manager, that means you got to have a hell of a running game. And if your offense is predicated heavily around your quarterback, then you got to have a scheme that fits him. And I mean, I give Lamar Jackson a lot of credit because I didn't think he was going to be that, especially his first few games that I saw. I was like, okay, he's gonna put up 80 yards passing, 110 yards passing, and rush for maybe almost 100 yards. But I don't see him doing anything else. And he's progressed, and I think a lot of that has to do obviously with him, but with the fact that he's got a coaching staff and that has put a scheme that works for him, because they did the same thing with Flacco. Like they're 2 polar opposite quarterbacks, and yet they found success with both of them.
Yeah, I mean, and they're in a tough division, right? You kind of hope Cleveland gets better next year. I don't think so. We're going to talk about that later. I don't think so either. But you have Pittsburgh. You know what I mean? They're not in the NFC East. You know what I mean? Where like average gets you through, right? Like that's not what it is with them. So got to give them credit for that. But again, man, like it comes a lot to like you have any game, anything can happen, right? Like because every game is going to be different. You never know what's going to happen. So you can't. I don't think the seeds matter in the NFL because you know every team is pretty similar, but when the X factor is turnovers, right? If you don't turn the ball over, because you don't turn the ball over, it doesn't matter. You know what I mean? Like if they don't turn the ball over and let's say the Ravens do 3 or 4 less drops, then it's not as bad. Then if that receiver doesn't drop the ball for the pick, you know what I mean? Like it's a matter of inches and it's a matter of plays. So I don't think he's a bust. I don't think he's overrated. You know what I mean? Like you don't have the kind of season he had for 16 games and be a bum. I mean, again, the guy still had almost 500 yards of total offense, man. That's not a bust. And I don't know Tennessee's defense that well, so I can't even tell you like how well they played or how well they didn't play. So I don't know. I don't like the people saying like, oh, he's a bust. He's just like, dude, like everybody on the field is at the same level. Like this guy outruns them all the time. Like,
I mean, I couldn't wrap my head around that. This guy put up almost 500 yards, and it's those drop passes. I think it was the most drop passes. I don't know if it was in playoff history. I could be wrong. I was watching that, or I think I caught it in Sports Center after the fact. But that disrupts your rhythm, you know. And like you said it earlier, you're in a 3rd and 19 or 3rd and short, and you can't complete a pass. And there are some open passes. I mean, and a couple of them were in pretty big situations where it killed the drive. And I mean, you can't put it all on him. Put the pick and the fumble on him. That fumble was I don't know why he had the ball way out here. And then one of the picks was on him as well. But the other one was those drops are going to lead to more than just a drop, and it was all on the wide receiver. So you can't say that he's a bust. The dude put up 500 yards. He put up 500 yards, and he had a bad game, a couple bad decisions, one on the fumble, one on the other pick. That it happens. It just happened to be a playoff game, and
Yeah,
what can
it's
you
not
do?
like because people were acting like they came in 16-0 and just shit the bed. You know what I mean? Like they had losses during the season. You know what I mean? Like those bad games happen. It just happened to be on that stage. Like they'll go back to the drawing board. Hopefully they'll pick up some better receivers in the offseason.
Yeah.
Lamar Jackson will probably be better next year because he's gonna work his ass off. Because more people talk shit about him than anybody else in the league. Oh, you know what I mean? Like calling him a bust. Again, you don't get to be the NFL MVP throughout a 16-game season and a bust. Like busts don't win MVP, right? Like that's not what happens, right? Like that just doesn't happen in the league. So I don't know, man. We'll see with that. What do you think about the NFC Championship game? I'm not excited about it at all. Does that seem like I
saw that first game. I saw that first game, man, and Green Bay had no answer for them. I'm not a fan of Bosa. I can't stand the dude. Yeah. I can't stand his. I can't even. But he's a beast.
I'm with you. I'm with you.
Yeah. And
I don't like that guy at all.
I can't stand him, but you got to give him credit. He's a hell of a fucking defensive player. And then they got Sherman, who's he's older and he doesn't get, you don't hear a lot about Sherman, right? They don't go to him still to this day. As long as he's been in the league, they do not go to Sherman because he locks people down. And then that offense is scary.
As much as sorry to interrupt, as much as I don't like Bosa, I'm a huge fan of Richard Sherman, bro.
Yeah,
I'm a huge like that's why I'm
me too.
If you call me anything, you can call me a Niner fan for this game. What Richard Sherman stands for and who he is and what he did in the offseason, like negotiating his own contract, all on incentives, and he cashed them all in. He goes, put all the fucking pressure on me. That's some gangster ass shit. Highly educated, brilliant individual. You know what I mean? Like the dude graduated from Stanford. Like you don't do that just being a fucking idiot. Like so, all the hate that he gets is just people. Honestly, it's all jealousy, bro. Because he's never gotten in trouble. Fired his agent. So he takes all his money. Doesn't give anybody else's money because talks to rookies and how to manage it. Like the guy is just a supreme individual, bro. Like I'm a huge. He's my if there's one, he's my favorite player in the league.
But why does he get so much heat?
Because he talks shit.
But why? But why does everyone? A lot of people talk shit.
No, you want me to? Because you want me to say it? You want me to just go ahead and pull out this card right here? Pull out this card right here.
We'll keep it light.
Everybody
knows.
But yeah, everybody knows because Bosa is the complete opposite, right? Like Bosa, like if you go to Bosa, he said and done some terrible shit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, so there's no heat there. There's nothing but praise. But I think at one point we'll have to do, because I think us being Hispanic, I don't know if we could like critique it because we're like outsiders in it, right? Because we're not either black or white. So we have this.
Look, man, I know I look a certain way, but I'm a brown person, right? That's what it is. People hear me speak. They might look at me and they'll think one thing, and then they'll hear me speak and they'll notice the accent. And then some people who feel a certain way about people that aren't, that aren't white, if it's a white person, then they'll look at me and they might change their attitude about how they approach me or whatever. Right. And you can't help that. That's what it is. And so for me, that's something that's always at the forefront. Like I always think I don't really let it affect, like what I do or how I act or whatever, but. No, definitely not. But yeah, that's something that's why when Sherman gets heat, I'm always thinking like, okay, it's because it's black, right? Okay, it's because he's black. He's a minority. Yeah. All right, let's see who's getting heat that's not a minority. Not as many people. Okay, so and it might be other reasons, but to me, like that's what I jump to because that's what I've seen.
Like, I guess, like I was saying, like there was this doctor I work with, right? This old Cuban guy. He's an anesthesiologist. Yeah. I like talking to older people because they have not obviously knowledge about stuff that I could read about, right? Like I talked to him and I was like, man, like he's probably like in his mid-70s, right? And I was like, yo, man, like what was it like growing? Because he's been here forever for like 60 years. Like how was it growing up? Mind you, 60 years ago, black people didn't have the right to vote. They had to fight for Voting Rights Act, all that shit. Like you had segregation in the South and all that. And I asked him, I was like, hey man, what was it like growing up here during that time? And this is something that I never thought about, right? Like, this is my own ignorance about it. Like, I don't know what it was like to be Hispanic at that time.
Right. Yeah, that's true.
You know what I mean? So when you had black people and white people like separated, I was like, yo, where did the Hispanics stand? The Hispanics were outside. Like, I you know, because they didn't have a place. So I was like, man, like I never think of it because like now that's not our reality, right? Like we're in tech, we're with everybody else. So I was like, man, that's crazy. So that's why I always look at the minority side of it. You know what I mean? Even when I'm talking to other minorities, like my friends or family, you know what I mean? Because I know my friends go like, hey man, you're not black, you're Hispanic or you're white. I was like, listen, man, you don't live in the area where I live where your race gets kind of shown to you very quick. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Quickly.
Like if you're not just one race, you're everyone else. That's it. Doesn't matter if you're Hispanic or whatever. You're the same.
Yeah, you're an other. Yeah, exactly. You're another. So that's why I always feel like the devil's advocate in the conversation with my friends, not to be a dick. It's like, yo, man, do you think this is also a possibility? Yeah. You know what I mean? Because nothing's for certain, right? Like, I'm not saying that because Richard Sherman gets hated is because he's black, right? Like, maybe it's because he argued with Skip Bayless all those years ago and went off. You know what I mean? And that's the image they have of him. There are all these different things, but like, you have to understand that it's a possibility. I'm not saying that it's a certainty. You know what I mean? Like, we don't have to get too deep into it, but like that's also a factor, is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So yeah, man.
So bringing it all back, the games this weekend. Not excited to watch that Niners game. Let's throw you back in. Come on.
Yeah, let's bring me back in before I go.
Let's get you off the deep end. Whoa.
Yeah, I got my arm floaty, so I'm good. Yeah, man. I guess I'll watch it. Like, I got friends who are Niners fans. Like, again, that's a team I'll be rooting for. Just because I haven't seen a Green Bay game all year, and the two best games I saw a year were the Seattle San Francisco games. Like those, so that's what I wanted to see. I wanted to see the third game. Like, I wanted to see Seattle San Francisco again. Like, that's the game. Russell Wilson against Richard Sherman. That, you know what I mean? Just because all the storylines into it. But now we got Aaron Rodgers. I don't know shit about. I don't know who his receivers are anymore. I don't know
the best quarterback I've ever seen play, for sure.
Yeah, that's the best quarterback I've ever seen, bar none.
I get Brady's got the rings, and not to take that away from him. You got 5 rings? Not to take that away, but 6. I think Rodgers is a 6. I don't know. I stopped counting. Yeah. They're in the Super Bowl every other year.
I know.
Rodgers, I think, is the best quarterback I've seen, and who knows? Maybe 10 years from now, I'll be saying that about Pat Mahomes. I don't know.
Yeah,
but
I think that's the person you compare him to, though, right? Like, Aaron Rodgers is the greatest quarterback I've ever seen. But I think the not natural transition, because you never know what's going to happen, right? But the possible transition would be Patrick Mahomes next, right? Like, I like him. I would love to see a Super Bowl with Patrick Mahomes and Russell Wilson, because I think that's like, if Rodgers is one, I think Pat Mahomes and Russell Wilson are like 1B, 1C.
Well, yeah, I mean, you know Rodgers, I mean? Like, he's still at the top of his game, but he's 36, 35, so he's gonna hit. He's already on the backside of his career, even though he's playing at a top level. But they played a similar. I mean, not quite as much, but Rodgers was always a mobile quarterback, and so he always had the same threat. He'll pick up 8 yards, 10 yards. He's scrambling to extend plays, so it's a similar game. Like, I mean, they have similarities the way they play the game, and so Mahomes it has that, but he's got that more of that gunslinger, Brett Favre kind of like mentality that he's just playing backyard football.
Right.
But those two guys, I think, are probably going to be carrying the torch for a while, unless something happens or they change their offensive scheme drastically. I think Russell Wilson and Mahomes are it. And I can't say anything about, as much as I like Deshaun Watson, he's just been injured too much for me to be able to see like consistency, to see what he's going to be able to do. I'm glad he has translated from college into pro ball, but he's just been injured that he hasn't been able to be consistent.
I was worried about Deshaun Watson in that way. I wasn't sure if he would translate as well, right? Because I wasn't sure if he was like that good in college, or if it was just like the supreme amount of talent that he had around him. Because it's Clemson and Alabama, right? And now you got LSU a little bit, But that level of talent is just you don't get that in the pros. But so when he does show up, like he balled out, he had a hell of a first quarter against Kansas City. The rest of the game didn't translate. So
yeah.
But I mean, I'm definitely more excited for the Tennessee just because of the headliners, right? Derrick Henry versus Patrick Mahomes, right? Like, and who knows, man? Tannehill could be the difference and throw for over 100 yards off play action because they stack the box, and then it becomes a totally different game. Like, I'm not picking a team in either one. I'm just hoping for 2 good games and a good Super Bowl because I didn't even watch the Super Bowl last year, bro. Like, it's not like I didn't want. I didn't care. Like, okay, I knew New England would win. You know what I mean? Like, I was like, yeah, however they win it, they're gonna win it. So that's when they got their 6th ring.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought it back to Tannehill because I hope he goes on to the Super Bowl. I always thought that he was the answer for the Dolphins, and I just when I was a Dolphins fan and just a fan of a team, I thought, you know what, if they do things right, this is their guy. Like they can stop looking for a quarterback for the next 10 to 12 years. And unfortunately, they couldn't figure it out. But he's proving that he's got a running game, so he's not and he's got protection, so he's not forced to make ridiculous decisions like he did in Miami. Yeah, he threw pick sixes. He threw a lot of picks because he had no one blocking him. And he had no one that receivers creating separation, even though he had some talented receivers. And I think part of that is just the offensive scheme that they were running. That the dude that's coaching the Jets now, who was supposed to be an offensive genius, really turned out not to be an offensive genius. And
terrible coach.
And yeah, terrible. And unfortunately, I think that affected Tannehill, and he got a lot of crap from the fans, and even the people that I did hear standing up for him were some of these analysts and commentators who a lot of them play quarterback, and they kind of pointed out the same things. And when you don't have, you're gonna make mistakes. If you don't have something open, like the smart thing would be to just throw the ball away, but he just tried to make plays happen, and a lot of those times, those plays ended up being pick sixes the other way.
Yeah.
And now that he doesn't have to do that because he's got a running game, he's got some weapons, he's able to make better decisions. And you know what? Good for him that he's got a hell of a running back. If he just had a decent running game, some kind of support, I think the same thing would have happened in Miami, and it didn't work out that way.
Yeah.
So I'm happy for him.
One thing, like as you were saying, it made me realize how much of a throwback the Tennessee Titans are, right? Because in a league where like you want 400 or 500 yards passing games, these ball out games from the quarterback. This is a complete game manager where he's thrown under 100 yards. He's thrown 160 in 2 games.
Yeah,
and to have a running back where they just control the clock, you know what I mean, and they dominate the top. I think they're the 6th seed. Yeah, they're the 6th seed. So it does, you know what I mean? It's completely different, and it's refreshing. You know what I mean? It takes us back to the football we almost grew up watching, right? Like when we grew up, we didn't have gunslingers. You had
that old boring football.
Jim Kelly, John Elway, and Dan Marino. That was it. Like if there was and everybody else was just a journeyman. So now you have all these talented quarterbacks, and to have the running back be the best player on the field is crazy. So I don't know. I didn't think
smash mouth football is what they called it.
Yeah, I didn't think we spent 30 minutes breaking down the championship games, man. But that's kind of just how the podcast goes. All right, man. So let's get into it. Let's get into last night, bro. Now you know what? Let's save it. Let's save that till the end.
Okay.
I wanted to tell you. So I wanted to tell you something that was weird. Not weird that happened this weekend. You know, when we get older, like it gets harder and harder to make friends, right? You kind of have your group of friends, like to make new friends. So yesterday we went to. I wanted to tell you a story because I thought it was funny. We went to this place called Rural King, right? It's kind of like.
Is that a furniture spot?
It's in the title. It's not a furniture spot. It's kind of like a Walmart for country folk. I don't know how else to describe it. Right? Like they sell guns in there.
Okay.
You can get stuff for chicken. You know, I got chickens, so you get stuff for the farms. Like if you have land and shit like that, they sell stuff for fencing. It's everything. It's everything country. Right. So we walk up in there and they have a legit petting zoo. Right. Because every Saturday they have like a market. Dude, they had these ducks. They had a fucking wolf, bro. They had a wolf. Like they had yeah, bro. Like because I think it's called like Skunk Ranch Acres or some shit like that. That's like 45 minutes from me. They had like wolf and all this shit, and we get there, and then my wife is talking to them because she's into all that shit and she wants to be a conservationist and have animals here on the property, yada yada yada.
Right.
So I've been honest about where I live. It's 87% white, right? And which is fine. I don't have a problem with it. My neighbors are awesome people. I have no issues with that at all. Want to make that clear because people start thinking that I'm fucking racist or some shit. But
you live in the U.S.
I saw
reality.
yeah, exactly. It's not racist. So I saw a Hispanic couple and the guy standing next to me, and so we're talking. My wife's looking at me. Who the fuck is he talking to? Because I rarely talk to other people, right? Like I kind of stick to myself. Whatever. I was like, oh, these people seem cool. There's a guy named Victor and his wife. Mm-hmm. Right. I was like, yo, there's a fucking wolf in this dog cage. He's like, there's a fucking wolf. I was like, look at the shit. First of all, I felt bad for the wolf because wolves are supposed to be like in cold weather. This motherfucker's like tied to a cage in a parking lot in Florida. Whatever.
You sure it wasn't a husky?
No, it was a fucking wolf, bro. I looked into its eyes. It was all wolf.
Okay, all right, you guys connected. I got you.
We locked eyes, and I was like, oh shit, this motherfucker's about to kill me. First of all, it's a big ass wolf. It's only 9 months, bro. Mm-hmm. It was like, they're like, oh, we have the mother and father, and I think the wolf was already like 90 pounds or some shit.
Yeah,
in 9 months, which is crazy. So then start talking to them, and then we're talking, and they're Hispanic and whatever. And like, I was like, oh, where are you guys from? And I hope you never. I guess I'm gonna just say it, right? Like, I just immediately assumed they were from Texas because they, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I was like, hey, man, he goes, where are you guys from? And before he answered, I was like, Texas. He was like, nah, man, actually. He goes, nah, man, actually, Chicago. I was like, I had that moment where I was like, yo, did I just racially profile people I don't know, bro?
Hispanic people with
yeah. Did I just immediately assume that they were they're Mexican, right?
Right.
Did I just assume that all Mexicans live in Texas? Like, what the fuck? I had that moment. I was like, my God, bro. Like, what the fuck am I doing? So they're like, no, Chicago. He's like, but funny enough, we did live in Houston. I was like, okay, cool. So we're talking for like 20, 30 minutes. My wife finally comes over in that time, and we're talking. I was like, yo, man. And I felt weird, yo. Like, I'm going to talk about this when I do my stand-up. I felt weird. I was like, man, these people are cool. And I want to, you know what I mean? We don't have that many friends here, especially our age and a minority, right? I want to check out. Right. I want to check demographics off the box of friends, right? So I'm talking.
Wonder you're not making friends.
Yeah, exactly. Because this is how I approach it. Hey, man, I need a black friend.
Your survey they made. Hold on a second. Are you 1/8 Mexican? Check. Okay. We got a get together on Friday.
Yeah. Oh wait, you're Filipino? Shit.
I already got someone filling that slot. I already got a Filipino for Wednesdays. I already got a
Filipino. This is gonna be weird, but man. So I was like, yo, man, look, it's cool because they didn't have any. They just moved here like a year ago. I was like, yo, man, let me get your number, and you know what I mean. We could link up and like maybe go to dinner. You know what I mean, and just be friends, dude. Like, I always talk about. My wife always tells me that I'm not very social, so I was like, yo,
you asked him out on a date.
I did. We're going out next week because I'm out of town this week in Tucson. So I was like, hey man, let's grab dinner or something. You know what I mean? I'll bring the candles. You bring the baby oil. It's kind of weird because his wife was like, what the fuck is going on? I was like, hey man, listen, we're out here bug chasing. You know what I mean? Like,
I knew you were bug chasing, man. I knew it.
I'm out here bug chasing, man. I'm out here fucking bug chasing. Let's not even explain what that is.
Let's
right. Not even. Let's just leave bug chasing.
Yeah,
you got to Google that. Bug chasing.
Someone can figure it out.
Yeah, it's in the Webster's.
You bring the candles, someone brings the wine, and you put the Obama speech on in the background.
Yeah, you gotta. You know what I mean? All I'm saying is I'm trying to get a mortgage. That's all. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. But yeah, man. So that was cool. But dude, like, it was just weird because like, I guess since we started like intermittent fasting, like we like my wife and I, we feel better. You know what I mean? Because we're not eating as much shit. We're more conscious and shit like that. So like, this is something that my wife would appreciate. But like, it almost feels like the universe and everything is like aligning differently. Because like even she made friends that like, cause she's my wife reads tarot cards, right? She's an astrologer, so she does that. So like she met people in there. Again, this is a very conservative area. She met people in there that could like straight out help her like where to go, where to set up for vending and all that shit. So it was just yesterday was like a crazy productive day. And we got like our tile. We got an estimate for tile because we want to redo the whole house. But dude, I was like, I finally started feeling like an adult. You know what I mean? Like dude, I'm 35.
I'm places.
At Rural King. First of all, if you ever come down here, I'm gonna take you there. You're gonna end up buying a gun because I almost bought a shotgun.
I think they have one. They had one in Tennessee where I lived. I just never went by.
Dude, it's honestly, I know it sounds stupid, but it's fucking amazing, bro. Like their prices are great. You could buy chickens in there, pigs, a rabbit. You know what I mean? Like it's a farm establishment.
Yeah, if you had any people watching this podcast, we just lost. I'm talking about pigs and feed and whatever else we just mentioned. I tuned out. Shit.
They're like, what the fuck is going on? Why? They're almost thinking like, why isn't there a Confederate flag behind them? You know what I mean? Like this just got crazy. But dude, it was a good week, man. Did a lot of productive shit. So
that's awesome.
I was off most of the week. Yeah, man. What'd you do this week? Oh, you had your classes and shit.
I had class, man. That was it. I'm glad. I got not a week I'm looking forward to coming up now, but that's all right. I've got a 3-day weekend. I'm still off tomorrow, so I can't complain.
Yeah, that's good. I'm off. Obviously, this is for the podcast. Like, I'll be in Tucson this week. I got my annual work conference. So with the time change, I think I'm like 2 hour difference, and I'm not gonna transport all this equipment because that's first of all crazy, and I'd have to check my bag for 3 days, so not gonna happen.
I thought you were about to put your tour dates. Like I'll be doing stand up in Tucson next week, and then I'll be in Houston the day after that at 8:00.
That would be dope. Speaking of stand up, dude, like I was looking at the Emperor because I got Orlando and Tampa between me, right? Like they're exactly the same distance. Like the Tampa lineup isn't as good as the Orlando lineup. You know what I mean? Like Andrew Schultz is coming the week of my birthday.
Damn.
So I'm gonna have to get those tickets. But like that's the only person that like I really want to see and like that I've actually heard of. Like I know the other comics and comedians, but like there's none of them that like I've seen stuff from recently. So I think Andrew Schultz might be one that I have to get the tickets for. But I know you told me you're gonna see Brian Callen. And Chris
I gotta get tickets
right?
because I just heard Callen when I was watching this podcast yesterday. He said, "Hey, I'll be in Hilarities at the end of January," and so he's one of the bigger name comedians. So they don't put those up; like they'll just put them at the last minute. They'll just say, "Hey, we got a special event." So now I got to get on and get his tickets. And the Stefano's coming in February to the same spot. So again, Cleveland being the fact it's freezing up here, right? They got pretty much nothing going on. LeBron left. The Indians, I don't know. We'll see if they're gonna be garbage or not. The Browns are garbage. So what they do bring is it's not called the Q anymore. It's not called the Quicken Loans Arena. It's called whatever else, Rocket Mortgage Arena or something. Right. So they always bring concerts and they always have awesome comedians at that spot. And then they have another place, the Improv, and they bring some pretty good comedians there too. But we talked about this. I've seen D'Elia, I've seen Tom Papa, I've seen at the theater down in their theater district, I saw Brian Regan, who played a sold out theater. So they bring really good comedy, and they have some pretty decent local comics on there as well. So, I guess they try to satisfy the people that live here. There's like, look, you guys live in Cleveland, we get it. Here's some comics to help you get through the day. I mean, this is pretty much all we can do for you. Yeah, it's 5 degrees outside, but come have a beer and a laugh and go back to work tomorrow.
Go back to work.
Yeah, but yeah. So I have a pretty good lineup here in the next month or so where, Callen, it would be ridiculous. It's not gonna happen if D'Elia showed up during Callen's set. Like he did in Arizona, I think.
Yeah. And, I think that was Phoenix, right? He flew to Phoenix.
Yeah, in Phoenix, I think.
Yeah, dude, I would love to see that. Like I would. D'Elia is on my. I gotta see D'Elia at some point, bro. If he comes to an arena, I gotta go to that shit. That guy is absolutely hilarious. I would love to see a lineup like if they did like almost like a Kings of Comedy tour, where it was like Theo Vaughn, Chris D'Elia, Joe Rogan, Brendan Schaub, Brian Callen. You know what I mean? Where they just where they each did like 30 to 40 minutes and just killed. You know what I mean? I think obviously Rogan will be the headliner because he's the biggest. You know what I mean? He's a senior guy.
Him and D'Elia, I don't know, man. Those
I know,
two guys are.
But dude, honestly, you get to see all of them, right? Like
doesn't matter, right? Yeah,
doesn't matter, right? Like you do arena. That's an arena tour. Like you know what I mean? You call it whatever you want. Like just to see that lineup would be absolutely insane, man. Absolutely insane.
I missed. I wasn't keeping up with the schedule. Joey Diaz came a couple months ago, and I completely missed.
On Netflix?
Yeah. You know who
Fucking
you should
monster.
see? I don't know if you've seen Big J Okerson.
Oh, he's hilarious, bro.
Big J is filthy. He's like raunchy, and he talks
Yes.
about like
Dude,
his
his dad.
don't take this the wrong way. He talks about his relationship with his daughter and the crazy shit he's seen and what he's got to talk about, and he's seen her grow, and he's like, my baby girl is now like a 15-year-old woman, and I just can't deal with that reality right now. But
Dude,
and then he goes into detail about the crazy shit.
Dude, did you see this?
I can't take my wife to watch Big J. I can't do it. She's like, she might walk out.
No,
that's a little too much.
Like you go see Big J Okerson. That's like a guy's night, bro. Like,
yeah, I gotta do what you did. I gotta go to Rural King and go ask some dude out on a date to go watch a damn comedy show.
Exactly. You gotta go out bug chase, bro. You gotta go out bug chasing. Listen, Big J Okerson had a skit that you could find on YouTube where he talks about seeing his dad's dick. Dude, it's the funniest shit ever, bro. Because he's sitting like Big J Okerson is already a different kind of like he's sitting down the whole time, right? Like he sits down on a stool and he's just telling stories, right? He's like, yes, I got to tell you about it. Like, you got to watch it. I'm not gonna fucking massacre the joke because it'll ruin it. Yeah. So Joe, I'll send you the link after we get off here, so you can watch it. Dude, Big J Okerson is hilarious, bro. Like it's funny because I've heard his name for years, right? Like obviously I'm a big fan of Kevin Hart, and Big J Okerson was the one that helped Kevin Hart get on. You know what I mean? He would take like when he moved out to California, like it was that whole camaraderie thing. So I heard the name for years. Yeah, like I've heard about him for years. Like I mean, Kevin Hart was the second comedian I ever saw. The first one was Joe Coy. If you haven't seen Joe Coy yet,
I saw him. Sir, he's awesome.
He's like Kevin Hart is funny, right? Like this is when Kevin Hart was coming up, but Joe Coy was the first time I ever like had a monster headache because I laughed so hard. Like I had to like put my head down at the Improv in Miami and like try to focus because my head hurt, bro. Like he was on stage for 2.5 hours, and the thing people don't know unless you've seen him live, that motherfucker can sing, bro. Like he every end of the show, like he started just covering songs. So he's like singing all these songs. Like, what the fuck, this talented bastard? So he was there. I remember after the show, he's a super nice guy. I talked to him for like 10, 15 minutes. You know what I mean? When people are like thinking they're too cool to talk to him, took a picture with him. Really nice guy, man. So Joe Coy is one of the funniest comedians I've ever seen. Man,
I like
Joe
his
Coy,
Tagalog Thursdays.
Yeah, I watch this shit all the time, man.
So, yeah.
I know it sounds stupid, but like I commented because I don't know if you saw the video of him getting punked by that cat when he was like talking to his friends, and like a cat ran by his leg and he fucking jumped like a bitch. And I was like, man, it really be the one closest to you. And like he liked it, he liked the comment and commented back. He said something like these fucking pussies or some shit like that. Oh man, it's crazy. Oh man, that guy's the shit. All right, so now we did 15 minutes of that. Now let's get into it. Because 40 fucking seconds, bro. 40 seconds.
Were you expecting anything less?
Honestly, bro, like I had because like the way the word Brendan Shaw says it, he's like a Conor McGregor dick rider, right? Like he's a super fan. I'm a huge fan of Conor McGregor, right? Like I've watched every single one. I watched him before he became huge when he was fighting like Brandao, Marcus Brimage. I mean, when he was on the undercard, when he wasn't even a headliner, before he fought, he had like one easy fight in Ireland where he fought some older guy that I can't remember, bro. When he was still fighting 45, when the crowd went crazy, that's when he jumped into the crowd and the whole arena fucking blew up in Dublin. So I've been watching him for a long time. So like for him to grow into what he is, but I was nervous, bro, because like against Khabib, didn't look good.
No,
and he took
he got manhandled for sure.
Yeah, he got manhandled in that fight. Took a longer layoff. And I was talking about it with my wife. I was like, man, like if Conor McGregor loses this fight or kind of struggles, it's all over, right? Like all the hype, all the lore, all the money, like the amount of pressure he had in this fight, honestly, no other fighter has ever had. Like there's no, I can't, because he's 21, he's 22-4 now. Right, but if he would have had a loss, if he struggled a little bit and went into the later rounds and all that shit, and he lost that fight, it's over. Khabib rematch is over.
Yeah.
Jorge Masvidal fight is done. The Nate, like he quickly becomes a meme. He becomes a gif.
Yeah, he gets replaced with other talent.
Yeah, he gets replaced, and it's a wrap.
Yep.
Like that's it. First of all, I think I don't think that anybody will ever be as big of a star as him. Like I think people are. I know it sounds. People are lucky to get in the octagon with him because they become a bigger star. Like the only fighter other than him that has become a bigger star of their own performance has been, to me, Masvidal. Right? Like we're not like, look at us right now. We're not talking about the 170-pound champ. Like I don't care about Usman.
I was about to say, is that Usman?
Yeah, exactly. See what I'm saying? Like it's there. Masvidal is the only other fight to make. The fights to make are Tony, Masvidal, Khabib. That's it. Like I don't want to see him. Usman can go fight Leon Edwards. Like Usman isn't a personality or a person that I would want to see fight Conor McGregor. Not because he's the bigger fighter and all this shit, and like he'd probably have the disadvantage. I think Usman would lose in the warfare of it, because the Conor that you saw against Cowboy was purely respectful. That wouldn't happen with anybody else. That's not gonna happen. He would eat up Usman mentally, right? But I don't. And I'm not saying that he would. I think Usman just wrestles him down to the ground, and I don't like seeing.
But I don't know. I mean, like, look, Usman faced Colby, right? Who was the same. He built that same persona just like McGregor did, and that was the whole thing. They said, you know what? Colby got under his skin. He got in his mind. Usman's not going to be the same person. And I mean, it was just a boring fight. Like Usman just kept fighting his fight. I don't think he got under his skin. He didn't do anything, but it wasn't an exciting fight. Exactly. He kept pressing forward, but he never. And I don't think he was ever in danger, even though he took some good shots from Colby. But I just don't think that Usman made, like, that's what he did. Like, he fought his fight and he won. I think if he fights McGregor, I don't think McGregor will get under his skin. I think Usman will probably, he'll just get in there. It'll be another fighter. But the McGregor that I saw yesterday, like 3 shots with your shoulder, I've never seen anyone do that. And he busted up his nose on the second one, I think. Like, I think he dazed him on the third one. He definitely busted his nose on the second one. And then that leg, like, bam, shoulder shots, and then that leg kick, like the head kick. And that was it.
Dude, with the toes, first of all, the head kick with the toes extended.
It was with the toes.
I hadn't, like, look, and I was talking about it again with the group check. I actually was like, I was in bed, and I got up to watch I got up because I knew I was going to be, like, all hyped and jittery, and my wife was already sleeping. So I'm watching, so I get up, and I'm watching the TV. I'm just standing in front of it, and I'm watching it like, we've watched thousands of UFC fights, right? Like we've been watching it since it was illegal. You know what I mean? We've been watching all the bootleg shit. Yeah, exactly. So I've been
Dan Severn, all of it.
Yeah, fucking Tank Abbott. You know what I mean? We can go back. Fucking Royce Gracie. You know what I mean? Frank and Ken Shamrock. So we can go back. I've seen thousands of shoulder strikes. Thousands. John Jones does it all the time. I've never ever seen shoulder strikes thrown with that. Like he changed angles. So when he changes angles, he's launching his shoulder into your face. That's targeting in the NFL. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, you can't do that with motherfuckers that wear helmets. And when he did that, first of all, like I blinked and he was already on the other side of the octagon trying to knock fucking Cowboy out with the straight left.
With that left was that straight left, he came flying at him. Yeah.
Yeah. So then he does those two things. Like that, after he did that, I was like, what the fuck? I've never seen that before. I've never seen anybody throw their shoulder like that. Like it's usually like they'll be up against the cage and they'll kind of like shrug it into them to get them to like move their head in a different position and to get them for like a knee or some shit like. But I've never seen anybody do that. His the pressure that Conor had on him to perform like that, to have that kind of quick finish in 40 seconds of one of the toughest fighters to ever fight in the octagon, and for people to be bashing Cowboy that he took a dive, bro, that's no dive, man. Like Conor motivated, Conor motivated and focused with the shit talk, and like again, everybody he fights won't have the same pressure. Like Conor has to perform, these other fighters can have a down night. You saw what happened to Conor when he didn't perform against Khabib. The fucking shitbirds came out, shitting all over him. Oh, he's done. It's over. It's a wrap.
Right.
Khabib became a bigger star because he fought Conor. Nobody makes bigger stars with a win or a loss like Conor McGregor does. Right? Like it.
No,
like we'll watch the Tony Ferguson fight. Hopefully, knock on wood if that happens in March. You know what I mean, or April, because of the performance he had against Conor McGregor. Like we're gonna watch it anyway because we're fucking fans of the UFC. But the bigger star was made because of Conor. If Conor fights Jorge Masvidal's gonna be a bigger star, win or lose, because he fought Conor, because he's exposed to more people. And look, I know it might sound crazy, but all these fighters that get that red panty night, as he puts it, with the biggest payday they'll ever have, they should be thankful that Conor is the promotional juggernaut that he is, because
they have to be, because Dana White isn't paying them. Dana White isn't paying them, and so Conor is the attraction, and he brings the money, he brings the eyeballs, and so because he's bringing all that money and that attention, then they got to pay him. Then the other fighters can say, "Well, I'm fighting McGregor. He's getting paid this. You're bringing this much revenue. I want my cut." Because if it wasn't for Conor, I mean, he just said, "I'm not going to fight. I'm going to go focus on my whiskey." You know, the dude's got what, $200 million or whatever they said he was worth now.
Now he does,
and
because he was
because I look at the fighters and the bonuses and what they get paid, and you compare it to like what some of the boxers get paid when you're talking about a main event or these kind of cards, and it's because of Conor, and maybe to some extent Ronda Rousey, who also brought attention to the UFC, but I mean not the UFC as a whole, but Conor is the UFC. That's what people know. If you haven't been watching the UFC for the last 7 years or so, if you're watching now, it's probably because McGregor kind of was that driving force. And for a casual fan, if you weren't watching the UFC, McGregor made you interested because of his antics, because of the persona he built, because of all the shit talking. But because of that, he brought more eyeballs to the sport. He brought more money. And then he can ask for more money, which in turn allows these fighters to have a little bit more leverage, because Dana White isn't paying these guys. Like the UFC is valued at $4 billion, whatever it was that they sold it for, and they're paying fighters $100,000.
Yeah, on a good
or a $20,000 bonus on a good day, right?
Yeah.
Nah. So I agree with you completely.
I think so. I don't think so. It's easier, like I was saying, like it's easier for these fighters. Like Masvidal had an interview right before the fight. By the way, love the interview. I'm not picking a fight in that fight because I'm a big fan of Masvidal and I'm a big fan of Conor. Just like I didn't pick anybody in this fight. That's the fight to make for me. Like it's Masvidal, Conor, and then have Khabib, Conor if they both win in October or some shit, like after Ramadan for Khabib, because he's got to observe his time. So definitely not going to affect that at all. So let's do it again. And what you do there, you have it in Russia. You know what I mean? You have it at a stadium in Russia, or you have it at the stadium in Las Vegas to open that up to have the first fight, because that would sell that bitch out completely. Have you seen that stadium? That shit looks like a spaceship, bro. The Raiders Stadium in Vegas.
No, I haven't seen it.
Have you seen that? Pull that shit up right now on your supremely fast internet and watch it. That shit is insane, bro. It's crazy. And I think even if I have regular internet, yeah, exactly. I think the Fertitas are like helping build that shit. So the Fertitas started the UFC, so it's right there, dude. That stadium is crazy. But bro,
for a second there, I thought you were thinking about food. I thought you were saying the frittatas. I'm like, look, frittatas, dude. Are you hungry right now? You've been fasting for too long. I think you're gonna need to get some food. Jesus, that's some real shit.
Look at that shit, bro. That shit is crazy.
That's some Jetsons shit.
Yeah, man. That shit looks insane. You had the fight there. Look, you know how big you have Floyd Mayweather posting on his Instagram, Mayweather McGregor 2. You know what I mean? There's too much money. There's too much money behind Conor, bro.
Don't make that fight.
The promotion. They'll make that fight at the end of the year. I don't give a shit. Like get Conor paid and get every other fighter paid. That's why I want the Masvidal Conor fight, because Masvidal deserves to get paid. Masvidal doesn't even want the title. You know what I mean?
No,
Masvidal
he just wants the fight and the money. He wants, let me get the fights that are going to give me the most money.
That's it. And that's what it should be. Your prize fighting, bro. Your prize fighting. I don't give a who cares.
This isn't the Olympics
anymore. Huh?
It's not the Olympics. You're not fighting for gold. You're a prize fighter. And I get it. Like, you want to chase championships and stuff like that, but the money is in what fighter brings attention. Obviously, I mean, you want to fight someone that's going to be a challenge, like a challenge, on the other side. But none of these guys you're not walking through any of these guys. You're not gonna. It's not gonna be. And I hate to use his name because it was at the end of his career. It's not gonna be a Ben Askren type of situation. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
We're talking. One thing that I noticed, I didn't watch any of the lead up to the Conor fight. When I saw him in the ring, he looked enormous. Like, against Khabib, he looked like Khabib was like he was being dwarfed by Khabib. But I saw that fight yesterday, and I said, "Wow, that dude looks." He looks like he belongs at 170. That's where he should be. Yeah.
So I did watch all the lead up and all like the vlogs and shit like that.
Yeah.
And he looked good, but he had a really long interview with Ariel Helwani, and he was talking about like how like unprepared he was for that Khabib fight, where he said it himself. He was very honest. Like, dude, I made $100 million. Like, I'm rich. I'm on my way to $1 billion. With proper 12 whiskey,
right?
And you know what I mean, being like a co-promoter in a way with UFC, because he gets a cut off that with McGregor Sports and Entertainment. When your belly, it's hard. He goes, I'm paraphrasing, but when your belly is full, it's hard as fuck to train. Like he said,
it's hard to be hungry, right?
Yeah, it's hard to be hungry when you've got fucking a Rolls Royce truck, Ferraris, Lamborghinis. You know what I mean? You got more and more money coming in. So he goes, look, it's hard. Like I was training one day, then I'd disappear for 3 days, and I'd fucking be a dick to my team and tell them, hey man, I'm on my way to the gym, be there in 30 minutes. I just was I was a complete asshole, and I didn't have the motivation for it. He goes, my coach John Kavanaugh said it. He's like, it's hard. The worst dream for a coach, the nightmare for a coach, is to have a fighter who's made it, who got it all. Right. Like Conor McGregor, as much as you hate him, 145, 155, 170. Knockouts at every level, right? At those three performances, had a 5-round war with Nate, lost to Nate in the first one. You know what I mean? Like, it's this. There's no way. Everybody else talks their shit. I'll fight anybody at any weight. Conor's the only one that's done it. Most Masvidal, for the monster that he is, 55 and 70. Cowboy monster that he is, 55 and 70. You just had Jose Aldo after 27 years or whatever the fuck. Just recently changed weights. You know what I mean? Like,
and he got robbed.
And he got robbed. That's why you make the Aldo Cejudo fight for me. Like, dude, like you have 10. Like for us, we've never fought. Those 10 pounds matter. That's why boxing has a weight class every 2 to 3 pounds. All that. Imagine Conor's jumped up 25 pounds in 4 years. You know what I mean? Like that's crazy. And I've completely fucking, you know what I mean? I can't believe what he's done, because nobody before him, he restarted the game. He reset it all. Nobody else did what he did before he did it. Nobody else jumped weight classes. Conor, like Dana White wouldn't even entertain somebody thinking they could change weights. Dana White changed his vernacular when he's like, oh, this person belongs more. He's more of a 70-pound fighter, or he's more of an 85er. That only you never heard Dana again. We've been watching this shit since Dana White had hair. You know what I mean? Like Dana White never entertained anybody jumping weight class. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's true.
Like he never even entertained it until Conor. Because and Conor openly talks about people should fight at the weight classes that they're the most comfortable in. That's why he did this at 70 to respect Donald, because he goes, look, man, Donald doesn't look good at 55. He looks sucked in. He looks drained. I want the best cowboy that there can be. Like, why?
That's crazy.
Having fighters, you know what I mean? You know what I mean?
That's crazy. He's like, let me fight this guy at his most comfortable weight, and I'll adjust. Right?
Exactly.
Like, let me fight this guy at the weight that he's the best at, and then I'll make the cut, or I'll make the weight, or I'll put on the weight.
Yeah.
And he's gone out there. I mean, say what you want. He's lost some fights. I thought he lost both fights to Nate, but he's doing it. He's cutting the weight, or he's putting on the weight, whether it's whether it's his natural weight or not. But I do think that at 170, I mean, there are some guys out there, right? But Khabib is what?
55.
Khabib is 55, but what's that weight class? There's Usman at 170.
You have Kobe Covington, you have Tyron Woodley, you have Leon Edwards, you have George Masvidal, you have Wonder Boy, you have monsters at that weight class. You have 55 and 70 are the weights, bro.
Yeah, it's stacked.
55, like it's packed. Like if you get Conor to fight again, if Conor fights 3 more times, I'm good, bro. He could go ahead and ride off. Khabib, Tony, Masvidal. Those are the 3 fights I want to see. I don't want to see Usman.
Yeah.
Like Usman. I'm sure will have a great career. It's not. And I'm not saying it's just those are the fights as a fan I want to see more. You know what I mean? Like I do, because I know what Usman's gonna do against Conor. He's just gonna. I don't. With the thing with the difference with I think right. The difference between between Kobe and Conor against Usman is that Conor, first of all, I think has better stand up, and he has a little bit. I mean, like he's not a punch. He's not a punch for pace guy. He's trying to end your fucking life when he hits you.
Right.
Kobe, fucking Covington, tries to hit you 1,000 times. You know what I mean? He's like the little guy from The Incredibles. Tons of cardio.
He's a volume guy.
Yeah, he's a volume guy, right? Usman, a volume guy, right? Like eventually he wore Kobe down, but those punches weren't doing much damage. Like you didn't see Kobe all fucked up till he broke his jaw in that 3rd round, and that was because Kobe had his mouth open. You know what I mean?
That's true. I mean, look at Kobe's face now. He didn't daze him. He did cause some damage or like constant, and then body shots and. They weren't knockout punches. They were knockout punches, but he wasn't tapping him by no means. But you're right. It's volume. It's volume. Where McGregor, don't forget, McGregor fought Mayweather for a reason, right? Because they thought that he was the best boxer. And I knew. I mean, I didn't think he was the best boxer on the UFC. I still think that Masvidal is he's probably got the best stand up as far as boxing goes.
I think.
And people didn't see it. Huh?
You mean overall, like all weights? Because I think Stipe is the best boxer.
Well, yeah, I guess Stipe. But I mean, those weights. If you're talking about those weights that you're watching, it's probably those 155ers, 165ers. I think Masvidal is probably the better boxer, and he wasn't getting a lot of that until recently. That he started baptizing people. Like people didn't really know about him, or didn't really know about that stand up game. That 2 pieces of soda.
Oh man, listen, man. The year that Masvidal has had, right? Again, huge fucking fan, bro.
Yeah.
I don't care that I don't care of his political views. I could give a fuck less. The performance he had against Darren Till, knocking him the fuck out, and that same night, catching Leon Edwards with a 2-piece and a soda mid-interview, are the 2 single greatest moments of the year.
I think so.
Like I didn't even that's not even counting. That's not even counting the Ben Askren flying knee, bro. Like that's the type of year that George Masvidal has had. The renaissance, the resurrection, the baptism, the fucking super necessary. The man,
even Jesus.
He is the fight to make, bro. That fight would be a fucking war. That fight would be fight of the year because Masvidal can knock you the fuck out, but Masvidal has crazy cardio. Amazing boxing. There's no takedown there, right? Like they're not. Masvidal is not going to take him down. He didn't even try to take down Nate.
Like you know what? But his Masvidal's jiu-jitsu isn't quite on par as Nate. I mean Nate or even McGregor. No. Like that's not his strong suit.
Right. But that fight to me hypes me up the most, bro. You do that fight in April or May or some shit because I think they already have March, April already booked. Because you got March, you have. I think it's a Khabib month, and then you have John Jones in February.
John Jones is coming up next month. I think Khabib is March. April is April Khabib
or March Khabib? Look that up real quick. Look that up again. You have the faster internet, bro. I would do it, but we've been sitting here for 45 minutes just
you called this super lightning fast, but it's not lightning fast. I just don't have 14.4 dial up like you do.
All right, hey man, watch your fucking mouth, bro. All right,
I don't know.
The host of this podcast.
Like right now, I don't even see your face. Right now, I don't even see your face. I see like 5 giant pixels. I'm trying to. It looks like
that's probably what everybody else sees as well. Listen, I don't appreciate you attacking me like that, and you will get This is still cancel culture, bitch.
Is it?
So I will kick you off this shit right now. # me too.
UFC 247. What's coming up with 247? That's a John Jones one. Yep.
That's a John Jones one.
Valentina Shevchenko's fighting in that card. Okay.
Yeah. She's fighting like Katlyn Shukagian.
Yeah, I don't know how to pronounce. I'm not gonna mess up that name.
Yeah. Not either.
Let's see what else we got. UFC 248 is Robert What?
No, he got pulled.
Did he get pulled?
Oh, that's the Israel Adesanya. That's the Adesanya Yoel Romero fight.
I don't know, man. I don't see it. Saturday, March 7th. Maybe I need to keep scrolling. I don't see any of those names on there.
Yeah, no, yeah. I know that because it was supposed to be Robert Whittaker against
Jared Cannonier.
Yeah. It was supposed to be. Yeah, it was supposed to be that, but he had to pull out of the fight for personal reasons.
But they got that Weili Zhang and Joanna fight. I want to see Joanna fight again.
Oh no, that March 7th. That March 7th. I think that just got announced like 3 days ago. Okay. That March 7th fight is Israel Adesanya and Yoel Romero.
Yeah, that's the UFC 249 April. That's Khabib and Tony, and then Uriah Hall and Ronald Zuza's fighting on that card too. Oh, Jessica Andrade is fighting Rose on that card as well. Damn,
that's a good fight.
Damn, that's gonna be a pretty good card just to see those two fights. Yeah, so that's all I see right now. They got booked out to April, so that's the Khabib and Tony Ferguson fight.
So again, then that puts Masvidal Conor in May.
Yeah, and then that gives them time to fight in November to recover and make that fight if it goes according to Yeah.
If it goes to the Conor McGregor season, that can be the thing, bro. So, I mean, again, bro, like I don't know if we're overstating it or understating it, but if Conor loses yesterday, none of this matters.
No.
Not this hype. Fucking George Masvidal doesn't get the well-deserved payday that he's gonna get. Hopefully, it's 15 to 20 million because Conor was saying in the Ariel Helwani thing, he's probably gonna get 80 for this fight. That's not 80,000, bro.
No,
he's getting 80 mil.
He hasn't made 80,000 in a long time. Like not from a fight.
Long time. I don't think Conor gets out of bed for 80,000.
No, that's why he wasn't fighting. That's why Khabib dominated him. He said, 80 what? You're gonna pay me 80,000 to train for 30 minutes today? Now I'll sleep in. I'm gonna drink some whiskey.
We'll see.
It's crazy the amount of money because that fighters weren't seeing that kind of money until McGregor. It goes back to absolutely be thankful. You might not like the persona he built. You might like what he did for the sport, but not just the sport. I mean, obviously because he brought in the eyeballs and the money, but for these other fighters who can now get those paydays. Yeah. If it was someone at some point would have done it, right? The sport has to evolve. The promotion eventually evolves, but it was him. He's the one that did it. He's the one that stepped up and he brought that change to the sport. If not for him, maybe it would have happened a year later. Maybe it wouldn't have happened. But he's definitely the one that made it that made it happen for these guys. That's why 15-20 million is a reality for Masvidal.
Yeah, and it should be. And I mean, because again, Masvidal undefeated last year, nothing but knockouts. I still hate the stoppage that he had with Nate. I thought that should have gone 5 rounds. I thought he should have just had the referee come in, been outside of the cage, just let them fight. I thought the stoppage was terrible. You know what I mean? I think because you have to know who Nate is, right?
Yeah,
I'm not saying that he wasn't whooping his ass. I'm not saying he was knocking his ass around. I'm not saying, but I'm saying know who Nate is. That's what he loves. Unless
I know, Nate man. I know what Nate is, and he was knocking him and like a ragdoll. Even when Nate went down and tried to get him down to the ground, Masvidal was able to outmaneuver him. But I mean, even knowing what Nate is, the fact that he's been in so many of these wars like that, at some point, you just got to tell the dude, dude, just stop fighting, Nate. I get it. I know that you can go 5 rounds and take a beating, and your face is and win the fight, and your face will look like a freaking catcher's mitt, whatever. But just give it up, man. Like every time I hear him, it's almost like Max Holloway. I hear Max speak and that shit. And Max is 28, man, 27, 28. He's been in the game for so long, but he's gotta give it up, man. Not because I don't like watching him fight, because he just lost, because I think he can still do it. But you want to be able to speak to your kids when you're 35 years old. By the time he's my age, 36, he might not be able to have a conversation with his kids. I know. That's a reality. I get it. These guys do it. That's what they do for a living. That's what they want to do. That's how they make money and support their families. But some of these guys have made the money, right? Nate has those fights with McGregor kind of elevated him to other things that he's doing outside of the UFC, other businesses. I would imagine that a Max is the same way. Especially being back on the island, like that, he's one of their heroes, him, and like just like BJ Penn was back 10, 15 years ago. Dude, hang him up, man. Like for this, as much as I like to watch people kill each other, and my wife will watch me when I'm watching a football game. She's like, "You just become a different person." I'm like, "Look, they're savages. They're out there. They're out there trying to kill each other. I don't want anyone to get hurt. I just want someone to get targeted and get knocked out of the game. I don't want them to have CTE. I just want them to get knocked out of the game. That's it. A broken rib." I was so upset with the Clemson game. I was like, "Man, somebody please crack Joe Burrow's ribs, please, just a little bit. It's not going to affect his draft stock. It's not going to do anything. Just crack." And someone did, and then that dude got taken out for targeting early in the third.
The end of the game.
Man.
Speaking of, I totally get it. And that changed the game. Like when he, I think it was like 28-25 at that point, and then you take out their middle linebacker, their heart and soul. That game was over at that point. Like as soon as that happened, I actually stopped watching the game. Like I would get the updates on my phone, but I was like, "Oh, this game's over, bro." Like you're taking out their quarterback on defense. It's a wrap, especially on that team. That when that guy's like their toughest guy, like I was like, "No, this game's a wrap. I'm not even gonna waste my time with the rest of it." Then it ended up being like 42-25 or 49-25 or some shit. I was like, "Okay, I'm glad I stopped watching that game." But speaking of quarterbacks, a little breaking news that just happened today. Miami got a transfer quarterback for the year. De'Aaron King from the University of Houston, because we know we're gonna have a different offense this year. We're gonna do actually spread. We got a kid, like I'll send you highlights after this, and we'll talk about it again on the next podcast. But I'm hyped about that because obviously the Hurricanes sucked last year. I'm a little hyped. That's why I'm wearing the hat that barely fits. But yeah, man. I mean, quarterbacks. I mean, Joe Burrow had one of the greatest seasons I've ever seen. Dude, 60 touchdowns, 60 in the SEC, and he played the toughest schedule since he beat 5 or 6 top 5 teams. Like beat Alabama, beat Oklahoma, beat Oregon, that team was. Yeah. Go ahead. And speaking of they beat Clemson in the championship game, and a lot of Clemson people are saying Clemson isn't what they were because they played in the ACC, and the ACC wasn't tough this year, so they had an easy road. I get that they had some calls go their way against Ohio State, but even against LSU, like they put up a fight. Unfortunately, that call against the LSU in the LSU game, the calls went against them. Not just that targeting call, but there were a couple other calls that just didn't go their way. And so I guess that you can call it karma, you can call it whatever. But I'm glad that Clemson made it, and they proved that maybe they had an easy road in the ACC, but I mean it was a game up until that dude got taken out of the game. Up until 47 got taken out of the game because when the way the game started, I didn't expect LSU to start like that. Clemson was up 17-7, I think, 16-7, and for a second there, I thought, wait, what's going on? What's going on with this powerful offense? They can't be stopped, and then whatever they made the in-game adjustments before they got to halftime, and those receivers, especially and what's that dude's name? Jordan. No, not Jefferson. The other one. He was. That same cornerback kept getting smoked every second. He had 4 touchdowns on him on the same dude. I was like, come on, you got to make some adjustments. Maybe not play man defense. Maybe give him safety help. Whatever you got to do. He's getting beat consistently on every single play. It was tough to watch. Those adjustments were made. I think both receivers are going to the NFL, and they also got in trouble. LSU might get in trouble for the whole OBJ thing, like giving them money. It's like, I don't know how you could punish somebody if the players they're coming back, that fuck, know my status. My status was NCAA. Fuck them. They made over $1 billion probably in this like college playoff shit that they that they got from advertisers and all that shit. So fuck everything about their amateurism, because it's amateurism. But the players are the ones that aren't getting paid. When you got Nick Saban, who's like the highest paid player in the entire state, the highest paid person in the entire state of Alabama. You know what I mean? Because it's a state school. So fuck all that bullshit. Because I'm just not fucking with it.
If you go back, the SEC sometime in the 90s or something, like I forget the guy's name, but one of the SEC senior guys in the SEC said that I don't know if this was caught in a press conference or maybe like he thought it was off air or off the record or whatever, but he said that the greatest thing that they could come up with was the term scholar athlete, because that way they could use it. And these aren't exact words, but that was the way that they could get around the whole amateurism and not paying these guys. And I mean, he said it himself. He knew the system that they built and that they were getting away with it essentially. Yeah,
absolutely. And they knew what they were doing. And the fact, players, listen, man, we don't even gotta like have a long podcast about this and do it on stuff. NFL college football players should get paid. I think it should be a sliding scale. You know what I mean? I don't think they should take punishment for getting money, because those players can get injured on that field, and then they're taking bullshit classes anyway for the most part. Besides Myron Rolle from FSU, you know what I mean? Like if you're at the top level and you're making and you have your own network, like the SEC has their own network, ACC has their own network, the Big 12 has their own network, the Big 10 has their own network, the Power 5 conferences. Who's that money going to, bro? Those advertisers that advertise on that network, who's that going to, bro? That's going to the ADs, the commissioners, and all this other bullshit. Get the fuck so everybody can get paid. Everybody. Because why? No, I don't. You can't name a single AD out of any one of those schools.
Like what happens to a player when they lose a scholarship if they can't come back? They don't make the team. Yes, those scholarships. So what happened? They changed it, but before it used to be like every year. It used to be 4 years, and I think they changed it to where it renews every year, so you have to qualify for your scholarship every year. But those athletes are there. I get it. Look, there are people helping them to get those grades. So then the one thing they got to worry about is being able to get on the field. And if you're injured and you can't get on the field, you lose your scholarship, and that's it. So how do you pay for school? But we want to say that these kids are there to learn. And nah, man, like let's get real. Everyone knows what's going on. You know, I'm not saying I have the answers, but there should be a sliding scale. I think that's the way that they should go, because not every school makes the same amount of money. But you got a coach that's making $8 million or whatever Saban is making, $7 to $8 million, maybe more now.
You have when you have every single player on your roster that all has a communications degree.
They can't communicate worth of shit.
Yeah, you got to
communicate. You get them on an interview or a press conference, and they're like, "Well, we did good, and the same."
Coach said.
Coach makes some great plays. Everybody stepped up. Blah 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 blah. The same repeated.
Let's be real. They all have. They're 19, 20, 21, 22, and they all have brain trauma, right? Because they've been playing the sport. Yeah. They've been playing the sport their entire lives. It's not, you don't get brain trauma from fucking studying. So to call them students when they're athletes that happen to play a sport, you know what I mean? That happen to go to school. That's what it is. Totally different, bro. You know what I mean? Like there's no way you become these like the top programs, right? The top 25 or whatever, the top 50, because even those programs are solid, right? When you're one of those programs, and there's no way you could get to that level, even the top, with actually, like, you went to college, right? You went to FS, you went to a major university. There's no way you could study what you studied and played like soccer. You know what I mean? Like, or played or anything, because you're not gonna play football, John. Sorry, man. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not gonna compare you to a sport you can't play. No, you can't.
I don't know. Ask Tony about that. I'm not the one that ended up with a broken arm. That's all I'm saying. Playground football, baby.
All right, calm down.
And he had about a foot on me.
Yes, yeah. Your playground Hall of Famer. Okay,
that's right.
In Miami Springs, it doesn't transfer to any other city. It's just that small apartment. You're in the Hall of Fame. All right, we'll give you that, dude. We used to play. let's backtrack on that. We used to play 2 versus 4 sometimes. Me and you versus 4 people. What the fuck?
On the street, either on the street or on that used to be tennis court that they converted to a basketball court, concrete.
Yeah.
And we got people. Yeah, we got people laying out for passes.
Yeah.
And then not only that one had the fence around there, right? So it's like arena football.
Yes.
We were fucking ridiculous. We were 16, 15. Yeah.
Yeah. Playing 2-on-4, like, yo, me and Jonathan against y'all. But there's 6 of us. So what? What are we doing? Let's make this happen.
Yeah. Let's make it work.
Fucking
yeah,
crazy.
That was fun times.
Yeah, man, like, yeah, let's go with that. Like, every college, I don't know. The thing, I guess, if we want to go a little bit longer with it, like, I don't know how you pay the other athletes, right? Like, if your team's more of a basketball school, like Connecticut, or a baseball school, like Rice, you know what I mean, or
South Carolina, and a lot of these schools that
South Carolina, you know what I mean, like or a hockey school, like all the Boston universities and shit like that. Like, I don't know how that would translate, but that's not for me to figure out. Like, I'm just a fan. I'm just saying that these athletes, if they are the reason why there's money, right, in those schools, they should be compensated as such, or they shouldn't be punished for some trivial bullshit. Like, I remember a player from, I forgot what university, got like suspended for a game because he got some stupid shit, like he got too many ketchup packets at a conference ball or some shit. You know what I mean? Like, wow. Because he ate too much at a certain place. Like, what the fuck are we talking about? You think these guys at this size are eating what, bro? Like, you think the offensive line of Alabama, Clemson, Ohio State, Oklahoma are eating top ramen? You've got to be fucking kidding me, right?
They're vegans. We all know that.
Yeah, they're all vegans.
Fucking no, but you said it. The reality is, the reality is that coaches, as soon as the championship game was over, right? They're on the recruiting trail because they have to start recruiting that next class. They're not out there recruiting. They're not out there recruiting the kid who's got like, he's been in all these engineering clubs and he's a mathlete, right? He's Mu Alpha Theta, the math club after school. No, they're looking for the best quarterback, the best running backs, the best whatever to fill those positions. And let's make sure that they pass these classes while they're here, that they meet the minimum requirements. They're not out there getting drafting. Essentially, that's what it is. They're not out there recruiting student athletes. They're out there recruiting football players or basketball players or baseball players that happen to go to the school. You said it perfectly. They're not out there recruiting students or they want athletes. School is secondary. No matter what anyone tells you, no matter if they want to use the term student athlete and student comes first, they're not out there recruiting students. They're out there recruiting athletes who got to go to class. And how you break that up, it's tough because lacrosse, unless you're in a Northeast school and lacrosse is your big sport or whatever, but even then, those schools have some other programs that bring money in. I mean, you got to figure out a way to divvy that up because some of those programs do bring in money. But at some point in time, they got to start. They got to start paying these guys because what's the less than 1% of them, right, make it into the pros. A lot of them don't graduate. Some of them due to injuries. Some of them do because whatever, they just don't have the grades. So they're just to support that school for like a year, right? And then maybe they just can't get the grades, and then they fall by the wayside, and then they just recruit someone new. But for that year, they were part of that team. They maintained those grades, helped you get to the college football playoff or to a bowl game or to the national championship. You got to compensate these guys because they see nothing on the back end.
Nothing, and they're punished for the most like, even if they don't pay them hundreds of thousands of dollars or whatever, or salary or any of that shit, like don't punish them for like the most trivial stuff, because these kids, for the most part, I don't have like 80 to 90% of them come from nothing, right? Like they come from small towns. None of they don't really come from money, because football is one of the few sports where you don't really need that much money to start and play, like soccer or baseball or lacrosse or all this other shit where that's more of an entitlement sport, right? Yeah. That's more of a wealthy sport in that way. Like we've talked about it before with soccer, like how expensive it is, like if you're on travel teams or shit like that.
Pay to play and all that stuff,
Pay to play and all that stuff. Like there's all these sports that, you know what I mean, that there's a bunch of people that they just can't get into because they don't have the money. For football, all you need is the football, and for the most of the time, like your team will have like a sponsor that supplies you with the stuff. Then you could have shitty cleats and come from nothing. So for these players that come from nothing and they're the only hope of their neighborhood to make it out and their family to make it out, and they have this chance, and for the school to make, let's say they go to Texas A&M and the school makes like Joy Manziel, I think they averaged it out because he was such a huge star in college. Like he made like hundreds of millions of dollars for them each season, and like in advertising and ticket sales and all this stuff. And he saw none of it.
Jersey sales and all that stuff, right?
But he's lucky enough to have been one of the people that came from money. So that factor didn't matter with him. But again, he made hundreds of millions of dollars for this university. Let's say if he was somebody else that comes from nothing, makes the same amount of money, then what? Like, then what are we talking? Like, so they should be, but then they're going to be punished because they took a couple $100 here, a couple $100 there. You know what I mean? Like, unless they're breaking the law and like an actual law, not like some arbitrary law that you made up in your mind to punish these kids that are also making, you're basically biting the hand that feeds you, because without them, you don't get any fucking money. Get out of my face with that shit, bro. Like, absolutely not. Like, it's not like I don't go out of my way. Like, let's be real, right? To compare any other sport to college football is bullshit, right? Except for March Madness, that some people care, some people don't. There's no sport like college football. Those 15 weeks a year, it's that, especially in the South and in Ohio for you, because you don't have a pro team for real. You have Ohio State.
No, we really don't.
You know what I mean? You have Ohio State. Like, that's what matters. Like, football is God. You go to Texas where football is right on. You know what I mean? Football is God. Like, it's a totally different animal.
Yeah.
So
no, I get you. You mentioned we don't have a pro team. Then we hired a head coach recently, right? I think. I don't keep up with the Browns, man, but I think they hired somebody.
All right. I think you led me perfectly into the segue for Get the Chancleta, haven't you? I think it's time.
Possibly.
I think we're in the segment. All right, let's do this. I'm going. Oh yeah, the effects of live television or live recording, live YouTube, live Facebook. Oh man. All right. So my Get the Chancleta moment of the week is just like we were talking about earlier. I'm that guy that kind of brings the devil's advocate point of view. I, for the life of me, can't understand a sport that's dominated by black people, right? By African Americans, however you refer to them, can't get a single head coach hired. You have Eric Bieniemy, right? The one that everybody's been talking about for Kansas City, who wasn't even given an interview, a chance. You had a wide receiver coach / special teams coach from the Patriots hired to the Giants. You had an offensive coordinator that my boy John was just referring to, and Kevin Stefanski hired to the Browns. Again, because Kevin Stefanski just wasn't even really their offensive coordinator, and their offensive coordinator just played like shit, just coached a terrible game against the Niners. Like, I don't know what we're talking about here. You had every single open head coaching position filled by white coaches. Look, man, we got Ron Rivera, which is the only Hispanic head coach in the entire league, coaching at Washington. He's not going to do anything there. We know the joke that the Washington Redskins are. Hopefully he'll turn their quarterback into something, but I don't see it, man. I for the life of me don't understand. Listen, you don't have to hire them, right? You don't have to hire anybody because they're black, they're white, they're Hispanic, they're Asian, they're male, they're female. Like the Niners have a female coach, their offensive assistant coordinator. You don't have to hire anybody. But the fact that not a single one was hired, when you have one of the best quarterbacks in a generation, and Patrick Mahomes being coached by Eric Bieniemy, and the man doesn't even get a chance, right? The fact that they had to work already harder than everybody else to get a chance. I thought we were past this time in the NFL when you had Tony Dungy and Lovie Smith in the Super Bowl. We've anything but regressed, right? And this isn't an indictment on any one person. It looks like they all just got together and go, yeah, man, we'll pass through an interview on the phone, because you don't see anybody walking out of a building of the facilities. You don't see anything like that with these people. They're having coaches that I'd never heard of some of these coaches. I didn't know who Kevin Stefanski was. I didn't know who Joe Judge was. Matt Rule, that just got hired for the Carolina Panthers, hasn't won a fucking thing. Hasn't won anything. But he turned around some college teams. It wasn't any big time team. It was Baylor that was recovering from the fucking sexual assault epidemic that they had with their football team. And it was Temple. Oh, great job. You won at a school with no responsibility, no belief that there were going to be anything, because Baylor 2 times choked against Oklahoma. So that's what you hired? A guy who can't beat the better teams? Well, how does that make sense, bro? You have one, Eric, again, I'm going to go back to him. Eric Bieniemy, great running back in his time. Hell of an offensive coordinator now. Calling the plays for Kansas City. One of the best teams in the NFL with a possibly future Hall of Fame quarterback. And he doesn't even get an interview. Guys, I don't even hear when they interviewed these other coaches though. I didn't see any ESPN reports. I didn't see any Fox Sports reports, Bleacher reports that they interviewed XYZ coaches. I didn't see any of that shit. It doesn't make any fucking sense to me. I don't know why they refuse to even interview or hire these coaches. What do we have now? Minority coaches. You got Ron Rivera, Mike Tomlin. I can't think of another one. I'm sure there's another, but off the top of my head, I should be able to list off at least 5. And don't even get me started on the fact that there's less general managers. You had Ozzie Newsome that was a monster for Baltimore, not even getting. I think he quit. If he's still there, don't know, because they never talk about him. There's no minority GMs. There's no minority owners in the NFL. Not a single one. They're all white and they're all old, which is, again, fine, because if you know the way race works, they had a head start with all this shit. They had the rights to a bunch of the shit before. So you don't have any head coaches, but they've played your sport longer than anybody, and it's a league dominated by black players. You for years said that black quarterbacks couldn't do it. Now look, some of your best quarterbacks are black, or if not interracial. If you don't start hiring minority head coaches, you already have a shitty reputation with minorities and black people. What you did to Colin Kaepernick, put his last year's stats aside, how you fucking are ready to lambaste Lamar Jackson, how you kind of give Russell Wilson the benefit of the doubt because he's a little bit lighter skinned. Yeah, motherfucker, I'm going all in on this shit. Like, it doesn't make sense to me how they don't even get an interview, bro. An interview. They dominate the entire league. Nobody goes, hey man, that's a really cool white offensive lineman that you have. No, that doesn't happen. Like, you got Mike Vrabel, hell of a linebacker, hell of a head coach. It translates. So you're telling me other linebackers can't be head coaches as well? But only this one. Give other guys an opportunity, man. Don't just fucking push them off and don't even give them an interview. It doesn't make any fucking sense to me. You don't have to hire them because they're black. You don't have to hire them because they're white. You don't have to hire them because they're Hispanic. But to not give them even an interview or just to do a phone interview, not even take the time out to really get to know them and understand what he did with Patrick Mahomes. Did anybody know last year before week 1 that Patrick Mahomes was going to be this? Eric Bieniemy did. He was there the entire fucking time. Get your shit together, man. This is to the shield. I get it. The helmet and the shield takes priority over everything. Nobody else matters. They don't give a fuck about their players. Get the fuck out of my face with all of that shit, because you can't say you're a family organization when you're just a business, but you won't give everybody an opportunity. I'm not asking for them. Again, I'll say it again. They shouldn't just be hired because of their race, but to just completely omit them and just check off some rule that had to be mandated in the Rooney Rule to even get them in the door is absolute bullshit, and it shows your bias. I don't know, man. That's my rant. Fuck all that shit. What you think about that, John?
Yo, get some air.
It got a little hot. Got a little hot in here.
Let me
drink out of my half.
Look, man, I don't have a lot to add. You said it, right? Bieniemy's been calling the plays. Andy Reid said it himself. He's the one calling all the plays. You see him on the sideline calling the plays. Mahomes, again, I give credit to Mahomes, but as I said earlier when I was talking about Lamar Jackson, you got to give credit to the coaching. And Bieniemy is the one that's been helping develop that kid. And he's calling the plays and he's putting them in the right positions. And how you don't give that guy a chance? I mean, I guess it's great for Andy Reid and the Chiefs because they get to keep that continuity. They get to keep that same head coach. But that dude should be a head coach somewhere. Or
yes,
yeah. Again, like you said, who. I don't know. You don't see pictures,
thought,
video coming out of any facilities. It's a phone call to check the box. Whatever the Rooney Rule worked 10 to 15 years ago, maybe. A lot of black head coaches, minority head coaches got hired. I mean, compared to what was happening before and what's happening now. And then it just became this, I'm just going to check the box. I did this. I'm not going to get in trouble with the league or anyone else.
Dude, the fact that it had, if you go back to the Rooney Rule, the fact that it had to be mandated shows you that even the organization saw there was an issue, right?
Yeah.
They looked in the mirror like, yo, wait a second, man, we need to do something about this. Like, they realized there was an issue. So I'm not saying anything that's out of this world and coming out of completely left field. That's not at all what's happening, right? Like, the fact that the thing is, I didn't see any of these coaches. Like, I didn't see Joe Judge, the guy that's head coach of the Giants now, who had a hyped up press conference. But I don't care about press conferences. Adam Gase last year looked like he snorted cocaine the entire time before. Motherfuckers like eyes are going everywhere. I don't care about press conferences. Don't mean shit. Press conferences are just hype for it doesn't matter. Like, Manny Diaz fucked me last year with a press conference, being all hype and talking about the new Miami. We ended up with a 6 and 7 season. One of the worst seasons in college football history to me, because they didn't play anybody. They barely played. You thought
we lost
to FIU.
The bowl game. Didn't they play a bowl game?
Yeah, they lost to Louisiana. They lost to Louisiana Tech and didn't score a fucking point. It's one of the worst seasons I've ever seen in my life. There's teams that lost more games, but Miami had an easier schedule and lost to worst opposition.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, we lost to FIU, Louisiana Tech. FIU beat Louisiana Tech. You know what I'm saying? Like, and we lost to FIU. Whatever. It's one of the worst seasons ever. Like, I don't understand the hype behind those press conferences, and that's fine. You want to be a fan of a specific team, that's cool. But again, like I said it again, like none of these people came out of the facilities like they had face-to-face interviews. You hire these people and give them, like, Matt Rule got $60 million of some crazy shit. Matt Rule from the college sport has never won. He's turned around programs, but didn't win. Like, that's not a turnaround. He's made them average or successful. But if you're not holding up the trophy at the end of the year, you lost. It doesn't matter that Clemson went 14-1 and they ended their 29-game winning streak. They lost. Only one person gets talked about at the end of the year. That's the winner. Nobody else matters. I for the life of me don't get it, man. And again, it's only gotten worse. Dude, again, they recognized it themselves that there was an issue. Now what happens is the next person who gets hired, that's a minority coach, like next year when a whole new batch of coaches are fired, and that next coach, if Eric Bieniemy does get a chance, the pressure on him is gonna be so much more, because he might be the only black head coach that's hired next year. Then if he doesn't win right away, they don't get as long of a leash. You had Jason Garrett for 10 years be average. Just be average. I think it was 500. If it was a little bit above 500, he was right at 500. Just be average and kept getting a leash. You had the only black head coach that I've ever seen that was worse was the Cincinnati one. Edwards, right? No, not Edwards. What the fuck is his name?
Are you talking about? No, it's not Marvin Lewis.
Yeah, Marvin Lewis.
Marvin Lewis. Yeah.
Lewis. But he took his team every year to the playoffs, and Andy Dalton would choke. Right? He still took it, but even that, he can't be an offensive. He can't be another head coach somewhere else. Sometimes you get these retreads that get chances all over again. Dude, you had Norv Turner that became a head coach like at 8 different places and never won anywhere. Won. Chan Gailey, another one. Like what are we? You have fucking what's the one that just got hired for Dallas? Mike. That was Mike something. That was the head coach.
With
Green Bay.
Packers head coach. Yeah, Mike McCarthy.
Yeah, Mike McCarthy. Another one. He got fired. He got fired because he couldn't win with Aaron Rodgers. You think you're going to win with Dak Prescott? The greatest quarterback in NFL history, and Aaron Rodgers, you couldn't win with him because your offense sucked. So now you're going to win with Dak fucking Prescott, a guy who's probably have a 10 to 15 year career, but average. Right? Like, there's nothing spectacular about Dak Prescott. He won't be a Hall of Famer. Right. Like, he'll be a guy with like 30 to 40,000 passing yards because that's what happens in the NFL now. But it won't matter. They're not going to win with him. He's going to have the same issues. Dude, like, it doesn't make any sense to me. It doesn't make any sense. I don't get it.
Yeah, though I think Dallas is an outlier. Jerry Jones is a different breed. I mean, he's old white guy too. I get it, but that dude is a little unpredictable with the way he makes, because he is the general manager, he's the owner, he's the president, he's everything. I know he's got his son involved in the business now, but he's got his hands on everything. So who knows? I mean, hell, if Dallas would have been the perfect not the perfect landing spot, but I mean it may be, right, that they're America's team supposedly, according to some people. The enemy could have gone there. He's got a quarterback in Prescott. He's got Zeke. Yep. He's got, even though they got Jason Lee, they've got some studs on the defensive side. That's the reason why Dallas has been relevant, because they have a stout defense. The enemy would maybe, you give him some talent, you put him there. I think Jones probably gives him a longer leash if he's not doing what people expect him to be doing, because you're not going to, as a first-year head coach. You have to implement your scheme, and you have to hire your staff, and you got to get everything implemented. You got to get it rolling 2 to 3 years. After that third year, then everyone wants results right away, and it's not going to happen. And unfortunately, black head coaches won't get as long of a leash, as you said, as someone like Chan Gailey, who's been all over the league and keeps getting, with zero results, keeps getting chance after chance. Who's this dude from the Dolphins, Gase, who coached the Jets? But what did he do in the Dolphins that made the Jets? What did he do with the Dolphins that made the Jets think he was going to be successful in New York?
Let's think about this for just in our smaller pressure jobs, right? If you are a loser of a coach, a loser of an accountant, or finance, whatever, you know what I mean, or whatever, you don't, and you have shitty returns or whatever it is, the shit that you do, you don't then get fired and then get hired somebody else because of your great performance, because they're gonna call your previous employer and find out what kind of employee you were, right? Oh man, Jonathan never showed up on time. His paperwork was always fucked up. He kept losing. He had terrible whatever the fuck deductions, whatever. That's with a conversation with one other person. You got to see firsthand how bad Adam Gase was, right? And you're like, yo man, this is the guy. What are we talking about here? Oh, dude, Ryan Tannehill is a quarterback that's possibly going to be in the Super Bowl. That isn't a good of a quarterback, let's be real, as Sam Darnold, right? Sam Darnold is a better quarterback overall, right? Yeah. You can win with Ryan Tannehill that's about to take his team to the Super Bowl, but you had a worse year with Sam Darnold that lost a couple weeks because of mono and all this shit. What did you performed worse and got a better the same job? What? I don't understand. I don't get it, bro. I don't know how you lose. Again, you're on a losing team, a losing franchise. You get a job right away. You're the offensive coordinator for one of the greatest offenses we've seen, and since I don't know how long, right? That it's
maybe since the Rams, right? Maybe since the 99 Rams. 20
maybe
years.
Since the Rams or the 2000 whatever the fuck Patriots with Randy Moss and them. You know what I mean? But I think even this team is a little bit different because what Patrick Mahomes does, or you would go to the Green Bay year when Aaron Rodgers had his monster season. Yeah. Right? So you can go to that team. He doesn't even get an opportunity. Again, you don't have to, if you don't like him, if you interviewed with him, that's fine. You know what I mean? Clash of personalities, that happens. But the fact that the man didn't even get an interview, and he's coaching who could have been possibly the back-to-back NFL MVP if he doesn't lose his 2 games because of a dislocated kneecap. Then what are we talking about, bro? If that guy can't even get in the door, how are you supposed to believe that somebody else is? I just don't get it, man. I don't know. Doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, but I'm at a loss for words. I really don't know how.
You
have to make a concerted effort to. It almost seems like it's crazy, but it almost seems like these owners or whomever are going out of their way not to hire black coaches. You have qualified candidates out there, and yet guys like Gase, guys like Stefanski, who they had to bring someone in, by the way, to babysit Stefanski this year because that's how bad he was. Someone had to come in and oversee So he wasn't really the offensive coordinator this year, and yet, that's the perfect example. That's the perfect example of them not going out of their way to not hire a black coach who's qualified. This dude was so bad last year that they had to bring someone in this year to watch him, to babysit him, and he got a head coaching job.
Like,
if that doesn't tell you everything, I don't know what.
How does Stefanski not lose? If you need to hire somebody to do my exact same position to babysit me, how do you just not fire that guy and have this other guy be the coordinator? Like, how do you get to keep your job in that sense? Hey, man, this guy's not performing really well, but you know what we should do? Let's hire somebody to watch him and waste more fucking money as an organization as opposed to just firing this guy who's clearly not good at his job because I had to hire somebody to watch him, to be his supervisor just for him, not for anybody else, just for this position. But you know what? That guy's going to be a head coach next year.
Yeah.
Bro, the Browns.
It also explains why Cleveland is. It explains why Cleveland is Cleveland, right? Those management decisions. It's not the players. You know, you think, oh, hey, these guys year after year they're terrible, so they're getting these draft picks, all this talent, but then they go there to die. They come to Cleveland to die because not of them, because of the management decisions. They have the wrong management, then they hire the wrong coaches, and then those coaches don't work out. So 2 years later, we have a new coach. 2-3 years later, another coach. There's not enough time for these guys to gel, for a system to really be implemented. And you see that, like, there's been a lot of players that have come through here. I mean, I saw it. You and I have seen it, even though I wasn't living in I've only been living here for 3 years. But I mean, we've seen what the Browns are, and everyone has their hopes up. You know, they had a good end of the year last year, and they're like, okay, we got Mayfield, and we have OBJ, and we have his teammate from LSU. I don't even know why I can't remember his name, but they're two of the top receivers in the league. Landry, and we got some talent at running back, and those guys are it's just gonna be a waste of their career. Like, I hope they get paid, but they're not doing anything if they don't make the right decisions at the top, and that affects everything going down.
So one thing that, because obviously this was a topic, this has been an ongoing topic in, you know, sports talk or whatever. One of the things, I think it was Stephen A. or Max Kellerman, right? Because we always send each other clips of that, or the Skip Bayless, Shannon shit. One of them made a point that, listen, I don't know how true it is, right? But maybe they just feel comfortable seeing people who look like them, right? Like, maybe this is a backlash of the, if you want, I don't know. This is just speculation. I don't fucking know.
Of affirmative action?
Just a backlash of it. Yeah, like of the Colin Kaepernick thing. You know what I mean? Where he speaks out. It's like, oh, you get mad at the opportunity you had. Now we're not going to give any of you an opportunity. You know what I mean? Because the owners and the GMs have a direct effect on what on the head coach, right? Like, they're the ones that can interview. They're the ones that can make these decisions. But if everybody in that room is white, you know what I mean? If everybody in that room is white, then who goes, hey man, why don't we look at this coach? Like, you're telling me nobody goes, hey man, what about Eric Bieniemy? The guy's coaching having one of the best. Like, dude, nobody in this fucking world thought Patrick Mahomes was gonna be what he became. Nobody, right? I think he sat 1 year because he wasn't a rookie last year. He sat 1 year right behind Alex Smith. Yeah. They traded away Alex Smith, who had a hell of a fucking year. I hope he heals up because his leg is fucking destroyed. You have Alex Smith, and then Patrick Mahomes comes in. I kind of saw him at Texas Tech. Like, I saw highlights. We had like baller, you know what I mean? But I was like, oh, this is the Big 12.
Yeah,
they don't really play defense. You know what I mean? So
yeah, but Texas Tech, I never expected anything because they had Cliff Kingsbury too. So it's just like, okay, that's the type of offenses they run. They don't translate though. It's just
they don't translate Texas well Tech. At all. It doesn't matter that I never watched a Texas Tech quarterback and I'm like, oh, this guy's gonna do it. You know what I mean? Just never happened. So, and now you have just again, bro. It doesn't make any sense to me, right? Just as a fan, and I'm not. Look, these people make millions of dollars, but the fact that there's not one single hire. I think there was 6 or 7 head coach openings, and you hire a guy like Mike McCarthy, who got fired because he couldn't win with Aaron Rodgers. You're telling me Eric Bieniemy couldn't be a monster with fucking Dak Prescott, who's a really good quarterback, top 10 to top 12 in the league, and with Ezekiel Elliott, you're telling me he couldn't do some crazy shit with them? But you hire a conservative ass coach that couldn't score enough points with Aaron fucking Rodgers, bro. Aaron Rodgers. I feel like I don't say that name enough. Aaron Rodgers couldn't score enough points with him. Whatever. All right, man. It's
But he's gonna be the one changing. Yeah, he's gonna be the one turning around your franchise.
Yeah, exactly. Just listen. If you're a Dallas Cowboy fan, just get ready for 8-8, 6-10 next year. Just prepare yourself for that. A very conservative game plan. It's gonna be boring. He didn't. I don't believe that people that much old, because I don't know. I want to say he's like in his late 50s, early 60s. I don't believe people that at that age just have a complete change of heart in the way they coach.
You are who you are.
You are who exactly.
Yeah. And look, Cowboys fans. This is the reality, right? You're America's team, or so you say. Well,
no, they're not.
Most of America's average, and that's what you hired. So you've been average for the last 10, 12, 20 years. So if you're America's team and you represent the average and you're average and you're happy with that, go celebrate it. I'll laugh at you every week in celebrating your averageness.
Yeah. Can we real quick before we go into your get the chancleta moment? The Houston Astros are the new Patriots, right? Like we don't have to go in depth with that because we're almost at 2 hours. But that level of cheating is insane. Like,
I'll tell you what, everyone they're doing it. It's just like steroids. Baseball. It's just like steroids. Yeah, everyone is stealing signs.
This will be the only 3 minutes we ever spend on baseball on this podcast. I could give a fuck about it. But that level of cheating is fucking. I'm talking. There's Deflategate. There's the recordings, and then there's just a complete organizational cheating that is fucking insane. This is, if there was a way to give a team the death penalty, this is what you do, right? Like, what? Like, dude, like, have you seen the pictures on Instagram and shit where like players are wearing like buzzards, like buzzer things here, like to tell them what pitches are coming? Dude,
no, I haven't. I didn't know it was that intricate. Yeah, I thought it was banging on trash cans when they were watching something on these instant replay monitors.
Then there's stats of like Jose Altuve and like all their big hitters, right? Yeah. Dude, outside of Houston, all of them are batting under 200. In Houston, they're like 637 batting average or some outrageous shit like that. So they knew like Max Kellerman brought it up. Like they're barely winning on the road or they're barely losing, and then they have 10 to 12 runs, a shit ton of home runs. Like they're a totally different. Like that is like organizational cheating to the highest level I've seen. Because the Patriots should just get pushed away because everybody loves Tom Brady, the media loves him and shit like that. But this level of cheating is fucking bonkers, bro. Fucking bonkers.
And you know, these guys are gonna feel it. Carlos Beltran had to step down as a coach, as the Mets manager. But guess what? The majority of these players, again, they're not Tom Brady. They're like Altuve, Venezuelan, and a lot of Hispanic Latin players. So we'll see. We'll see if they feel the heat more because, you know, baseball's made up of a lot more minorities, a lot more diverse. But yeah,
they're saying that Boston was cheating too the year they won.
Yeah, they were saying that as well. But I think that's more prevalent in baseball. Like they just happen to get caught, and I think a lot of other teams do. Maybe not to that extent, but I'm pretty sure that they're stealing signs. Hell, you were stealing signs before the instant replay era. They were doing it.
Yeah,
Now I think with technology,
so everybody steals signs, right? Like stealing signs is you tip the batter. That happens. That's part of the game, right? Like that's that aspect of cheating is tolerated, I guess, right? Because that's still cheating.
Yeah.
Right. But the fact that they had cameras pointed directly to the home plate, you know what I mean? And they had buzzers, and that shows a system of cheating, right? Like they sat down all together and figured out with the coaches, the players, what they should do in those situations. That's crazy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I don't know. All right, man. We'll talk about that because I'm sure that's going to be a developing story. We'll talk about the rest of that. But that level of cheating is fucking bonkers, bro. All right, man. It's your turn to get the chancleta.
All right. Old people. That's right. I said it. Ageism. At me. I don't give a fuck. Please, can we get on the same page? Self-checkout lanes. If you're a millennial my age, meaning wiser and older, obviously you're not wiser and older though, that's me. If you're part of the Pepsi generation, if you're a baby boomer, stay the fuck away from the fast checkout lane, the self-checkout lane. Please do us all a favor. If you don't know the simple way of checking out, this is a product, we got a barcode, you scan it across. Next item. If it's going to take you 25 minutes to self-checkout for 5 items, just kill yourself. Don't even go to the supermarket. Just starve to death. I don't have time to be waiting 45 minutes behind some 50-year-old person who knows how to use Facebook for keeping up with their friends. And then you got 8 Facebook accounts because you can't remember your goddamn password. And every time you get a new phone, you got to set up a new Facebook account. I don't have time for this shit. If you don't know how to set up a Facebook account, you don't know how to use a self-checkout lane, just end your life, man. Right now, go to that bridge. You've been driving by it every day. I know you've thought about it. Just go ahead and stop the car, open the door, take a shot of whiskey, take a look around, breathe in that fresh air, and jump. Because I got things to do. I got places to be. And I don't have time to be waiting behind you for 45 minutes because your fucking Depends, you can't scan your Depends. And you don't want the lady at the cash register to see that you wear Depends. Just stop wearing Depends. Jump off the bridge. Make my life easier. Again, I know that you didn't even know this was a question you had, but it's a question you had. And I'm the older, wiser millennial who's telling you, you got questions and I got answers. Thank you.
Hey man, this got dark,
bro.
Oh, look
I'm
at
sorry.
Dog.
It's Maurice. It's your dog is like, I love you. Please. It's okay. He wasn't talking to you, Ben. He wasn't.
Don't use the fast checkout lane. Look at this guy. God damn, that got dark. I'll just this is a little for the podcast. He was joking that was satire. Please don't kill yourself. If you can't use the fast checkout lane, please go ahead and use the ones with the lighted numbers and go somewhere else. They'll be happy to assist you. Okay. Dude, for real though, they take forever, bro. Like let's take those corporations that did that shit really fucked those old people because they used to have at least 2 lanes open and they were just long. But those self checkout lanes have really fucked the old people, man. It's a personal attack on the social security generation.
I think so. It's an attack on them, and then they get attacked by people like me, who are like waiting in line, and they're like these damn old people. You know, it's not even old people. Someone's like 50 years old, 45 years old. Yeah, but for whatever reason,
the thing is, they're not even that old.
No, they're not. Because I'll be 40 years older in a couple of years. But you know, whatever. It's everybody. And then they have one cashier monitoring 8 self-checkout lanes. Like that lady's life or that guy's life has got to be crazy because every 20 seconds is someone like, hey, look, can I get assistance here? I'm trying to buy this Tylenol PM or whatever, and now I need you to slide your card here for permission. It's crazy. The worst is when you buy something and it'll be like in the wrong spot. It's like, yo, this said it was $6.99. Now it's telling me $15.99. Then you gotta wait for that lady to walk all the way the fuck back there. And chances are she's old as shit. So that takes forever. That holds up that line. And then if the other people have issues, that lady's gone. So it's fucking ridiculous, bro. Fucking ridiculous. Oh, hey, and by the way, old people, and I'm talking about you millennials that are my age too, because you guys don't know how to figure that shit out for whatever reason, and you grew up with this technology. It's not your fault. The technology itself hasn't been. I was just messing around, but the technology itself, like I remember when they first rolled it out in Walmart, and they just didn't have it right. And I think they at the place that I go to now, when you scan something and then you put the item in the little bagging area, they still have the sensor turned on to where like if you don't put it in the bagging area, it's like please put the item in the bagging area. I'm like, dude, like I'm running out of space. and it's a tiny bagging area, and I have like this giant 40-pound bag of dog food, and you want me to put that shit in the bagging area? No, I got like 8 small items that need to go in there, and I was like, just turn that feature off. That shit is driving me crazy.
First of all, and also, why the fuck do you need fast checkout or a computer at fast food, bro? That a touchscreen that doesn't quite work. You know what I mean? Like bro, the way corporations have fucked the employees is crazy. Because all it is less.
They don't want to pay people, right? Again, because they know that we're going towards a minimum wage or a certain minimum wage, and they're like, you know what? We'd rather invest in this technology right here than pay you guys. People. Yeah.
Yep. But remember, corporations are good. I think that's where we should end it. Obviously, that's sarcastic right there.
Stop attacking them. Stop attacking them. Why do you want corporations to pay more in taxes? Come on, they put up all the capital and all the risk, and you want to take their money to pay me more? The hell is wrong with you?
So what if they don't pay any taxes? They deserve it. They deserve all their hundreds of billions of dollars. So what if their employees are killing themselves, and you got to put nets around their building in China, so they could bounce back and go right back to work? So what? Corporations deserve to be respected. Fuck out of here. All right, man, that was a good one, dude. We went 2 hours and 10 minutes, and we were only talking about 60 to 90 minutes. This is a good fucking podcast.
Yeah.
All right, man. Good to see you, my brother.
All right, man. You too.